Welcome, everyone. We will start in a couple of minutes. We will just wait for more people to join. Just for your information, this event will be recorded. So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to From Blockchain to Web3, the third and final demo day of BlockStart. My name is Inês Melo Faro, and I will give an overview of today's event. So before we start, let me remind you of some recommendations. So participants will have their camera and microphone turned off during the presentations. So if you want to ask questions, please use the Q&A function of the Zoom and not the chat. Our moderator will select a few questions for each speaker, and depending on the time available, and the questions that are remaining, the speaker will answer by writing. If you are watching us from YouTube, don't worry, you can also ask some questions by using the live YouTube chat. Don't worry, we will make sure that your questions will reach our speakers. So for now, we want to know more about you. So to break the ice, I will ask you to just answer a couple of questions. So who do you represent? So as you can see, most of you represent startups and SMEs, which is good. The next question is regarding if you have heard or not about BlockStart before. So these are the results. 68% of you didn't hear about the BlockStart before. And the final question is regarding your main interest in this demo day. So as you can see, most of you also want to learn more about blockchain and its current state and the future challenges. So moving on to the agenda, the event will start with Erik Hengmith from the European Innovation Council and SMEs Executive Agency from European Commission. Then João Fernandes will walk us through the main results and takeaways from BlockStart Accelerator. And then our keynote speaker, Sabine Brink from Shell, will presenting right after João. And Sabine will discuss how blockchain can accelerate the energy transition. And then we will have the beginning of the blockchain startups pitch with AgeVolt and BlockFrauds. Since we have a long event, we will have a 10-minute break. Make sure you stay hydrated, you grab some coffee or tea, and come back recharged. After the break, we will continue with the blockchain startups pitch with BlockTac, Comunitaria, Digital Village, and HOPU. And last but not the least, João Fernandes will make a wrap-up of the event. And without further ado, I will give the floor to our first speaker, Erik Hengmith.
Thank you, Inês. Are you able to hear me? Can you give me some feedback?
Yeah, we're hearing you, Erik. Hello.
That's good, thank you. And now I'm just, what happened here with the Zoom? Okay, I'm trying to share the screen now. Talk. Just a second. Almost there. All right. Are you able to see the presentation now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, very good. I'm glad with all these different IT tools, and we're not so much using Zoom. Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. I'm glad to participate today in the third demo day. My name is Erik Hengmith. I'm project officer EISMEA, the European Innovation Council and European Innovation Ecosystems Agency. And just, all right, yes. I'll give a short overview. I'm very pleased to see that there are many people who are interested in blockchain, and supposedly these are SMEs and startups. And most of you, over the half of it, have not heard of BlockStart before, so they can just get the basics. The BlockStart is an EU-financed project over 1.5 million that helps SMEs and startups in the BlockStart technology. And this was a project over 3 years, and we're now here in the third and final event of it. And just to get back to what our agency does, so the main pillar is the European Innovation Council, and there are different programs like Pathfinder, the Accelerator, and so on. Myself, I'm here in the EU and place-based innovation ecosystems part, and dealing with the InnoSub legacy. In fact, BlockStart is financed through a call of the InnoSub program. And now, just browsing through quickly, yeah, and you will have, if I understood João correctly, you'll have the opportunity then to get hold of the presentations afterwards. So I'll not read out everything and then just highlight the main things. So here what the EIC does, it's the Pathfinder for those of you who have heard before of the future emerging technologies, the FED Open. This is now the successor as the Pathfinder. And then what formerly was the SME instrument, this is now the Accelerator. And the sort principle is to have the blended finance to give grants and also to acquire some equity to boost the innovations and to scale up. And yes, what's important here for SMEs, what I just mentioned, the combination of grants and equity, that's what we want to foster. And again, there are other programs as well, like the COSME program from Enterprise Europe Network, and also our legacy programs with the InnoSub program. And there, I want to jump into the more concrete, hands-on things for you. If you're looking for financing, what are we doing for you and where you can find the information? There are the open calls for financial support to third parties. They have on our funding and tenders portal a dedicated page for it, where you can see these cascade funding opportunities. Here on the slide that you're currently seeing, there are 2 links because it recently changed. So the one above is the old link, and then you can also have a click when you have a look at the presentation on the new one. The old page looked like that, so you had all the competitive calls and calls for third parties, and then you just clicked on the call you want to look at, and you access it that way. And now I'm getting into more precise examples of currently open third-party financing calls. The first is the project that's called Mind the Gap, and there it's currently the second call open until still 14th of March, and it consists of a direct financial support to SMEs through innovation vouchers. And there, as the name already suggests, it's about the mining and raw material industry, and they're looking for strategic plan preparation, validation of ideas, or proof of concept or demonstration activities to innovate this mining and raw material sector. Okay, Another project that is currently open for the third-party financing is Secure IT, and this call is still also currently open and still open till 22nd of April. And there, this call is aiming at a consortia of minimum 2 SMEs, and at least one needs to be an IT or technology-oriented organization. And the proposals that are sought after need to address challenges around critical infrastructure protection, disaster resilience, or public spaces protection. And in this call, there are 2 types of vouchers. On one hand, the prototyping development that gives 74,000 euros per project, or the demonstrator, which goes even up to 88,000 euros per project. Okay, and as a third currently open project, it's Galactica. That's open until March, end of March this year. And there, I'm not so sure if this is very relevant for the audience I'm having, but I'm not sure. Just very quickly go through. They're looking for the best cross-sectoral projects in the field of textile, aerospace, and advanced manufacturing. So SMEs and startups from member states in UK can apply, and there the funding can go up to 100,000 euros per project for the so-called the orbital projects that include development and demonstration, or the smaller ones, the pioneer projects with the concept validation of up to 20,000 euros. Fourth and last project that is not yet open, but it will open on the 1st of March. It's called Meta Building, and there you can have a funding of up to 60,000 euros per project. And the overall objective of Meta Building is to bring innovation to the traditional value chain of the construction sector and expand the value chain to other industrial sectors to create an enlarged built environment sector. Okay. And yeah, so these were the 4 currently open calls, or soon open calls. They are still legacy from our InnoSup program, and there's another opportunity for SMEs that I'd like to address quickly. This is the Horizon IP scan. This is a tailored first line and free of charge IP support service, and it is specifically designed to help European startups and other SMEs to efficiently manage and valorize IP in collaborative research and innovation efforts. Here, well, I have to say the particular focus is on EU-funded Age 2020 or Horizon Europe projects, and there the added value is you can benefit from a vast network of experienced local IP experts covering all member states and Age 2020 or Horizon Europe associated countries. The Horizon IP scan team then provides you with an individual professional jargon-free assessment of SMEs' tangible assets. And well, the limitation for applicants has to be European startups or SMEs that are about to sign a grant agreement under the Horizon program, or that have recently signed one. Up to 6 months after signature, they can still benefit from that. And also, yeah, that SMEs that are referred to the Horizon IP scan via the Enterprise Europe network in view of a planned cooperation with other entities on RNA projects. So yeah, this was just a very brief presentation, as the main, didn't want to bore you with too many details, just so you get an overview of what's there and where you can find the relevant information. And again, I have to thank all the BlockStart consortium and João for the excellent management and execution of the BlockStart program. And I was really pleased to see the good results so far. And I'm very curious to see now the third and final round of the demo day and to listen to the pitches later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Erik. We deeply appreciate your your comments, and we've been fortunate to be supported by the European Commission that is making possible this program. And so I'll now share my screen. So I assume that you are seeing my slide with the presentation named Takeaways from BlockStart Accelerator. So I'm here today to tell you a bit of the story of BlockStart and a context about this program that we've been running for almost 3 years. So, but before getting into specifics into BlockStart itself, I would like to mention that BlockStart is not a one-of-a-kind initiative, as Erik rightly emphasized. So there are several of these kind of opportunities, these accelerator and support programs. And so in the past few years, we've been fortunate to be having this support of the ecosystem to try to boost blockchain adoption with fellow projects like BlockPool, BlockIS, BHub for Europe, and in addition to the opportunities that Erik shared, I'd like to emphasize the one in the right bottom, NGI True Blue. So it's from these projects that I'm showing here, it's the only one that has an ongoing open call, and the open call for startups is open until the 30th of March, the end of March. It will enable startups working with trustable content, enabling trustable content through blockchain to get up to 175,000 euros. So I urge any blockchain startup that may be in the audience to check NGI True Blue. But we are here today definitely to talk mostly about BlockStart and the great startups that we've been supporting. And so for the past 2.5 years, this project started in late 2019. And so in a nutshell, this is a EU-funded blockchain accelerator, an accelerator program that has supported until now 60 solution providers, so the blockchain startups, and 67 end-user SMEs, so the adopters of these technologies. We've been mostly addressing retail, fintech, and the broad ICT spectrum. We've been supporting startups with up to 795,000 euros equity-free, so we don't take any equity, throughout 3 acceleration programs. So BlockStart, the program that we are addressing today, the finalists that we'll meet today are the finalists from the 3rd iteration of this program. So this initiative is being run by Bright Pixel, the early stage VC that I'm representing, the project coordinator, Civita, an innovation consultancy firm from Eastern Europe, and F6S, one of the largest startup communities in the world. So the main offering of our program is for sure the equity-free funding up to 20K per startup and up to 4.5K per SME adopter. But as you may notice by the amounts that are not so relevant, our main value proposition is not so much the money, the grants, but mostly the market validation. So we are not only an acceleration program, but we like to call ourselves a partnership program. So we urge and we even demand startups to actually test their solutions in actual companies, in actual SMEs from European Union and associated countries. And so we want to see not only sound technical solutions, but solutions that are being applied in demos and tests with potential clients. And this connection, this matchmaking have been one of the most rewarding elements of this program, I shall say. So the growth support, for sure, the mentoring from business and tech experts, and the networking initiatives, the events, the matchmaking with investors, all this support that we've been providing for the past 3 years. But I like also to say that we are standing on the shoulders of giants, meaning that we are not alone, these three entities coordinating this project, providing value to startups. So we acknowledge that the value of community is huge, and so we are supported by over 30 ecosystem partners that we've been meeting along the way. And so as some notable examples like lead block partners, blockchain VC, BlockRocket, the accelerator and the VC fund from Germany, R3 tech community, the DT2 Invest Launchpad European project, and for sure European Blockchain Convention, a great event, one of the best blockchain events in the world. So among many other ecosystem partners that have been helping us to support our startups with a broadened network of experts, namely external mentors. So we have also over 30 external mentors from profiles ranging from investors to CTOs, several founders, business developers, so people that can bring much more value to these startups, that not only the companies that are organizing this program. And so for you to understand a bit of the structure of one acceleration program from BlockStart, so everything begins with an open call. So we ask startups to apply, and out of the applicants, we select around 20 startups. So the last acceleration program, we selected 23 startups that during 2 days pitched and met SMEs. So during these 2 days, we are doing matchmaking and also evaluating the startups, so that at the end of these 2 days that we call the ideation kickoff, we select the 10 startups that we believe are more fitting to move forward with their MVP development. And then in the prototype stage, during 4 months, startups are developing, iterating, and validating their MVP, always with market validation in mind, so that after these 4 months, we reach the pilot stage where we selected the 6 startups that we'll present today, that during a very short period of 2 months, they have a huge challenge of implementing the pilots in several SMEs at the same time, and then pitch at this very demo day event. So apart from the acceleration element of this program, we are also aiming for ecosystem building. So we have organized 29 events, mostly online, unfortunately, because the program has run during the pandemic, as you know. But we've managed also to participate in 25 events. And if you are curious about these events, most of them include a blog post and a video recording in BlockStart website, in BlockStart/events. And also one of the other elements that we've created to contribute to the community to get to know more about blockchain is Do You Need Blockchain? A tool, basically a survey that enables an SME to quickly understand after 5-10 minutes if blockchain may be relevant for their activity and their necessities or not. So these are just 2 suggestions of something that you may check in our website. So looking back, some vanity stats, I shall say. So we got during the 3 open calls, and for the sake of clarity, there will be no more open calls within BlockStart. So you should look into other opportunities that can help you. But so BlockStart, we are basically wrapping up this project, but we've been fortunate enough to get very high quality applications from startups, over 300, almost 200 applications from SMEs. So this was one of the main challenges of the programs, attract SMEs to test blockchain, and we've been positively surprised to see the eagerness of SMEs to get connected with blockchain developers. Also, we've got a wide array of countries. So the applicants came from 55 countries. In the ideation kickoff stage alone, 23 nationalities, in prototype stage 18, and the finalists out of the three acceleration programs came from 13 countries, so quite widespread pan-European project. Over 200 mentoring sessions were delivered during this period, and I'm very happy to know that our program have been very satisfactory in the perspective of startups, so over 90% NPS satisfaction rate. Based on the words of our blockchain startups, I show you here some examples of their testimonials. So, for instance, Ibiza focuses a lot in the fact that we stimulated them to develop faster than they would if they weren't in this kind of program. So one of the elements is the kind of deadlines that we try to promote. Also, the fact that we urge startups to test, to get to know their users, to define their target customers, so very much focused in the market validation, and that even got some great results as commercial leads and even business deals being done within the participation in BlockStart. And I definitely can say that we are very proud of our startups. So just some notable examples out of many more. Datarella signed recently a 2-year contract with the European Space Agency, a huge 1.5 million euros project. Also, Guillén fundraised by early last year 400K, including Techstars funding, and it's on the verge of closing 2.5 million fundraising round. We've also had Ibiza fundraising 1.5 million, and I'm also happy to say that Digital Village, one of the startups presenting today, fundraised later last year $2 million, which was a great milestone for such a young and promising startup. So we got a great variety of startups that we've supported. Just to finalize, just to emphasize the finalists from the first acceleration program back in 2020. So To Be Smart implemented an IoT solution for offices in 2 pilots implemented. Datarella, a supply chain, so a large deployment of blockchain in a supply chain. Infidia in the invoice financing, the fintech side of blockchain here, showcased in 5 pilots. Guillén last mile delivery done in 5 pilots. Rex.io data notarization. Also in the second acceleration program, so by mid last year, come together, implemented a ticketing solution with 2 pilots. Ibiza, agri-tech startup, Notary, the digital document certification in 5 pilots implemented. Loan Exchange, another fintech, secondary loan marketplace, and Moto Blockchain, tackling mobility, namely digital identity and tracing of motorcycles. And today you'll hear more from the startups themselves, but we have also a wide variety of projects. AgeVolt, EV charging, digital ecosystem, BlockFrauds, fraud detection for insurance, BlockTac, blockchain of things devices applied into industrial and smart infrastructures. Comunitaria, rooftop that feeds projects, so showing how solar energy can enable social currency. Digital Village, MMO, social metaverse. I'm sure you should be very curious about how metaverse is enabled in practical terms. And HOPU, so industrial emission monitoring, so implemented in 2 pilots. So this was pretty much about it in terms of of a BlockStart program in a nutshell. So it's my great pleasure now to welcome Sabine Brink, global blockchain lead from Shell. She will tell us about how can blockchain accelerate the energy transition. And so it's my great pleasure to have you, Sabine. I'm super curious about your presentation and super excited to hear and learn from you. So please, you may please share your screen, and so
Great.
The stage is yours, please.
Thank you so much. I just want to test, is the sound okay like this?
Yeah, the sound is perfect for me.
Perfect, good. I'm just popping on the screen. Let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, I'm seeing the full screen.
It's on, perfect, all right. Well, thank you so much. And it was really interesting to hear your introduction and almost a bit frightened what all of these startups are going through, to be honest. It's a pressure cooker. So I'm really interested to hear all of the stories later. But it's great to be here, and thank you so much for the invitation to come here to talk to the final demo day on blockchain. And it's really exciting to see that so many startups are working so hard to bring these blockchain applications to production. And I hope that I can share a little bit with this group on, how we see that blockchain can really be a tool and a technology that can help us accelerate the energy transition. So I'll be talking for about half an hour or so, and there'll be plenty of time for Q&A. So please post your questions in the chat as well, and I hope I'll be able to get to them and answer them. But maybe by means of introduction, firstly, so my name is Sabine Brink. As already mentioned, I lead the global blockchain team at Shell. I am based out of Amsterdam, but we have a global team that is based over the world. So we have offices in London, in Amsterdam, Berlin, and in Bangalore, where we're based. And yeah, looking forward to talking to you today on this topic. I do have to quickly brush up this definitions and cautionary note, but moving on from this, it's mainly just says that you should not follow my advice today for any investment purposes, and more of a disclaimer. Moving on to the agenda of what we'll be speaking about today. So first of all, I'll be talking to you about the energy sector. I think many of you might have heard of the blockchain combination with energy before, or some of you, this is the first time you're hearing of its application in energy. And I think it's important to talk about the energy sector and how we see it changing. Second, I want to talk a bit about the role that digital plays within this transformation. And then deep diving a bit further into the role of blockchain as it really brings a different paradigm shift to this whole energy transition. And of course, lastly, we'll be talking more about blockchain projects to really show key examples in the industry, but also how Shell is targeting these blockchain solutions into the market. First of all, looking at this screen over here, I want to talk a bit about the energy sector in general. And to me personally, I think that the energy sector or really the next 10 years are shaped by two key trends. And that is, first of all, the energy transition, and second of all, digitalization. I think it is expected to be that the energy transition and digitalization are going to have a profound impact on everybody's lives across the world. And already today it is happening. If we focus on digitalization, the way that online platforms have shaped our world, have shaped our view, has gone at an extreme speed. But first of all, I think one of the most urgent challenges that we face today in the industry is the energy transition. It's the climate crisis that we're currently in. And we need to tackle this climate crisis by transitioning to a net zero world, a net zero economy and energy system. And at the same time, we see a growing demand for energy across the world. So in order to reach this net zero target and facilitate this energy growth, I believe personally that we need to completely rethink the way that our energy system works. And we need to completely re-architect the way that energy is being produced, the way that it's being distributed, but also the way that it's being consumed around the world. And that might sound simple, but it really isn't if you think about the global complexity and scale that we're talking about of changing this energy sector. Well, I believe as well that digital innovations can play an enormous role in this. Focusing specific from my perspective is AI and blockchain. To me, those are two critical components that really will change the way that we transform to this net zero future. Just a quote from the International Energy Agency as well, the IEA. They've recently reported that half of the reductions of the CO2 emissions by 2050 will need to come from new technologies and innovations that haven't been created today or are still in prototype phase. This means that we need more and more innovative efforts that go into innovation, digitalization, to really make that step change in the short term and really get those long-term effects for this new technology to reach the market. That to me makes it extremely exciting to work in the innovation arm of the energy sector and really use blockchain as this new fundamental technology that can help to change the sector. To focus a bit more on the energy sector, because some of you, this might be common knowledge, to others it might be a bit newer. I think if we're talking about the deep decarbonization of this energy infrastructure around the world, it's not possible to think of those components in isolation and try and decarbonize that. We really have to think of the complete digital value chain that energy consists of. And I'm not advocating here today that digital technology will be the solution to all the world's energy problems, but I am convinced that a lot of the digital solutions that we're bringing to market today will be major levers that can drive us to that net zero future. I think if we look at some of the main facts of the energy sector today, I think it is clear that the energy sector is becoming more and more distributed. So to explain that a little bit further, there's today more and more energy sources being added to the energy grid. So for example, the solar panels that we're adding on our roof, or the windmills on the North Sea in Europe, or batteries in our home storage and electrical vehicles, for example. Those are all increasingly being added to the electricity grid. And in essence, that is great news. But if we think about historically, energy was always produced in a very centralized way and distributed in a centralized way and consumed. And that allowed it to be quite easy to manage that whole balance in the electricity grid, because the grid needs to stay a balance in order to make sure that energy gets produced and gets distributed across the grid. And if you think about now this transition to more and more resources being added to the grid and it being intermittent, so not really sure when the sun is shining or when the wind is blowing, it becomes more and more challenging to manage this centralized grid or manage this grid as a whole. And what this means is that we need to reduce our coordination mechanisms. And it's quite hard to imagine sometimes thinking about a centralized orchestrator doing this on such a large scale. Second of all, we need to decarbonize our full energy system and our full human existence from that perspective. And we need to transition to that lower carbon economy. And third, if you look at the energy sector today, and I think this is the same state as many other sectors, is that a lot of the processes that we still have in the energy sector are manual. If you think about trading, or if you think about shipping or logistics and supply chain, the way that goods and services move all around the world, even though a lot of digital initiatives are taking place, oftentimes it's still very paper-based and inefficient, which means that all in all, the energy grid is at the point of going through a total transformation, not only in the energy sources being transmitted, but also in the way that we exchange information, the way that we collaborate in this grid. So digital technologies today, I think, can play a changing role in these perspectives. And if we think about some of the technologies that are already making this change, you can think about, for example, data and AI. That's already used today in a lot of large-scale systems to optimize the energy efficiency and to reduce the amount of power needed in order to generate electricity and bring that to homes. Also, in the combination with data and AI and blockchain, we're seeing that the coordination of these power systems will be made more easily. And that because of all these new distributed energy resources being added, that we need better skills of forecasting, of greater coordination, and of flexibility. And that is what AI and data can really bring to the table. And lastly, I think we really need more transparent accounting mechanisms, but also more effective ways for us to monitor greenhouse gas sinks and making sure that that is done in a fair way. Now, these are just some of the examples today of already, the combination of AI and blockchain are adding some practical examples. But I think it's really important to note that blockchain and AI don't abate emissions in isolation. They are merely an enabling technology that help us to change the ways of working. It allows us to change the way we coordinate energy, the way we produce it and consume it, in order to get to that more systematic impact across this energy sector and re-architect it. So to move to what really blockchain plays as a role in all of this, well, blockchain is and I'm sure that's why many of you are on this call today learning about it or working on it in your startup. But blockchain and Web3 technologies really provide us an entirely new way of sharing trusted information with new and existing partners. If we think about today's world, and you see a bit of the infographic that I have there on the left, in today's world, we're still very much reliant on an inefficient way of working. Companies to date have developed databases and digital systems within the boundaries of their companies, and they've been able to optimize quite a bit of the processes internally. But the moment that that information leaves the boundaries of a company or goes outside of that silo, that is when we lose a lot of that reconciliation and where we lose a lot of that automation between data and information. And this is already talking about a quite advanced system. As mentioned today, I think a lot of paper-based processes still exist in a lot of industries. And you can think about, the way that a transaction or the way that a unit is stored in one database will not be the same as what it's stored in another company's database. So you automatically lose that information exchange or that efficiency in information exchange. And if we think about Web 2, right, because we've gone from a Web 1 to Web 2 revolution in the past, Web 2 has already really changed this paradigm, because Web 2 has allowed us to create centralized business models or centralized platforms in an online world that allow us to exchange this information and data a lot more efficiently. But the downside of this is that we've created very powerful centralized companies that are established in the centralized digital world, and they store a lot of the data that is required to do this facilitation. So now there's this new paradigm coming to the world, and it's in progress, which is all about Web3 and blockchain. And what this new paradigm says is that we can still achieve this data exchange, these transactions, these units of value, without relying on these centralized business models, but rather where decentralized business models play on the principles of being open, creating transparency, creating traceable networks, traceability in networks, and allowing us to transact across the world in a much more privacy-preserving way. And that will bring a fundamental change to many industries around the world. And I'm very happy to note that I hope that the energy sector won't be left behind. I think there's, two key properties based on all of this that provides unique capabilities that this brings. Number one is really digital scarcity. And the second one to me is really disintermediation. If we think about for a second digital scarcity, that to me is the unique component of creating tokens, of creating identities in a blockchain that aren't stored in a centralized way, but rather created in a decentralized network. And the second to me is disintermediation. If you see the transfer of the ecosystem today to what it will look like tomorrow with blockchain, you will need less intermediaries that are currently based in a lot of processes that we have around the world. So one example to demonstrate this is, for example, the shipping industry. If you think about the shipping industry today, the way that huge amounts of cargoes travel all around the world, and it's frightening to know that a lot of these cargoes still require a lot of paper-based documentation that is stored within that shipment. And all of those paper-based documentations need to be signed by certain authorities and certain companies to allow this shipment to enter a certain point. And if there's a signature missing or a part of the paper is missing, that cargo cannot enter, and that can cost millions towards many companies and dependencies involved in that. And just think about what that would look like in a blockchain-enabled system, whereby we have a network which is shared by participants, and whereby these digital transactions and digital signatures can be transferred or transacted real-time and verified by the relevant parties in that network. And this allows these shipments to, in a completely digital way, enter a port when the authorities can see that the digital signatures are there without having to see the underlying information that is stored there. So this is one example, and we already see businesses focusing on this to really start changing the way the processes work in our industry. If I move further towards zooming into this blockchain space, and I think it was nice to see at the start that many are still interested to learn more about blockchain. Well, to me, there's 4 key areas that I believe that the next generation capabilities of blockchain are bringing us new solutions. And these 4, to me, show that blockchain is growing up, that we're not anymore experimenting in small scales and trying to do small step implementations, but that we're growing to really experimenting this at scale. And to me, that's a really exciting space to be in, after having worked in blockchain for 5 years, now seeing that really inception point where we're moving to large scale production. So let's talk about some of these trends. Number 1, cryptocurrency. To me, of course, cryptos have been around for a long time, but we really see a step change in the way that it's been accepted around the world, really offering new forms of payment and new token models that can be applied in industries. But also really thinking about the link to the energy debates always. To me, public blockchains win over private blockchains immediately. That is a no discussion point in my perspective. And a lot of times public blockchains get criticized for the amount of energy uses because of the proof of work consensus mechanism. Well, I find that is a bit of an easy argument because yes, there's a lot of energy consumption, but there's a lot of public blockchains out there already today that do not consume that much energy to find that same level of consensus. So to me, for us as Shell and our use cases, we're really focused on this public blockchain deployments. Second key trend to me is NFTs or RNFTs. This is the non-fungible tokens, which allow us to create unique digital representations of any physical good or a digital piece of value, a digital piece of code. So for example, we can apply this to electrons today to prove where electricity comes from. Just like people are creating uniqueness for digital art or any digital physical attribute that they want to transfer. The third trend that I find extremely interesting is decentralized finance. So here we're talking about unlocking a completely new way on how the financing industry is working, which allows any person around the world to borrow, lend, and share any digital asset or transfer digital assets around the world. And these are unlocking things like decentralized exchanges, new ways of trading, creating liquidity pools. We are already starting to see a lot of interesting examples in the carbon market that is linked to DeFi. And the last one, which is really interesting, is decentralized autonomous organizations. This will truly question the way that companies are established, the way that we are creating movements where like-minded people can join forces in a community, but underpin those with economic incentives. And to me, that is a really interesting prospect when we're thinking about the energy transition, whereby there's a lot of global action needed. And when you can underline that with certain economic incentives, I believe that there is a great impact that we can make with that. Moving on to some of the key use cases in the energy sector. So talking about some concrete use cases, two of the underlying components that are absolutely key in Shell strategy and blockchain is number 1, the decentralized identities for energy assets or any energy producing assets. And second is the transparency and provenance that blockchain brings. So first of all, this enables decentralized identities of energy assets is a concept where you can give an energy asset like a windmill a unique identity. And you can prove that energy that is produced by that windmill at that location at that time comes from that decentralized identity. And that creates a new decentralized layer of trust whereby companies don't or people don't have to trust a company that has produced that energy, but they can verify for themselves where the source of this energy comes from and trace that throughout its life cycle. So this taps onto the second use case of transparency and provenance. For us, this is a fundamental use case that I see happening throughout the energy sector. With energy, it's becoming more and more important that we can demonstrate the energy attributes that are linked to energy. So for example, what are the carbon emissions part of this? When was this energy produced? How am I sure that this electron is really green? Or how do I prove that hydrogen is really created from sustainable sources, for example? The second element related to this whole electricity sector is the effect of the coordination and orchestration of many of these distributed energy sources at scale. And blockchain and distributed consensus and algorithms allow us to optimize these kind of energy systems towards a level that is probably at larger scale than what we could do centrally on a smaller scale. The second use case, which is also linked to this whole concept of tokenization and transparency, is everything to do with the carbon market. I think if you really truly look at the carbon market today, things like carbon offsets, things like carbon credits that are being issued around the world, this is not a longer term solution to climate change, but it is a necessary step in the short term to help companies decarbonize and reduce their emissions. And today it's quite a system that lacks transparency. If you create a carbon credit by a registry today, it's quite hard to know that, is that carbon credit not being spent twice? Or how am I sure that that offset is really only being claimed by me? Or how am I sure that these trees are being planted in that location? And blockchain and tokenization really offers us that transparency and that verifiability down to the source to prove and to allow customers to prove themselves that those offsets have actually been claimed once and they haven't been double spent. And here you see the real upcoming combination with decentralized autonomous organizations. For example, like KlimaDAO is an example there. A lot of decentralized exchanges like Air Carbon and others are really playing into this field, and there's a lot of movement. And the last use case that I just want to touch upon is not to give the idea that tokenization is only applied in electricity fields, but tokenization can also really apply in low carbon fuel space. So there are fuels that are being produced that are sometimes of a higher carbon intensity, but also fuels that are sustainable low carbon intensity. And those fuels can be used in hard to abate sectors like aviation or shipping, etc. And being able to prove the attributes of those low carbon fuels allows for the trust and diversification of the CO2 emissions, and allows us to create transparent accounting mechanisms. I hope this has given you a bit of an update on the use cases that we see in the energy sector. Now, to transfer further to the overview of this page on what Shell now does with these use cases, what is our strategy in blockchain? And I must say that about 5 or 6 years ago, we actually started with this blockchain activity in Shell. This was at a moment when we saw the first movements really of cryptocurrencies, tokenization, and within the innovation department, it was a certain level of urgency where we said, we know this technology will be a strategic enabler for the energy sector, and it will change a lot of the existing processes. So a team was established, the blockchain team, which I now lead, with a global perspective of helping to orchestrate the blockchain efforts across Shell and also in the energy sector. And through these several years, we've been able to come out with a clear strategy where we see that blockchain can really help us to create efficient supply chains and really change the processes and reimagine the processes that we have in the sector today, like finance, logistics, supply chain. And this will really reduce costs and change the way we look at these processes and organize ourselves. The second area that we look at a lot is about reimagining complete energy value chains, and the concept of tokenizing energy and of creating that verifiability in the market. That's really allowing us to bring more verifiable sustainability offers to customers, and it allows customers to really verify data themselves and use transparent accounting mechanisms. The last area, which is an extremely exciting one at this moment, is all about creating new markets. And we believe that with blockchain, just like the internet around 15 years ago has broken up a lot of new markets and has created a lot of new businesses, we will see a lot of blockchain-enabled businesses in the energy sector really creating new markets. And all of these reasons above, that's why we believe that decentralized technologies can really be an enabler in the energy transition, really to get us to a net zero world. Now, this is our strategy. That's all great on paper, but I think it's always important to share some of the tangible examples that we've been working on in practice. Here is an overview of just some of the initiatives that I'm showing of what we have completed and what we've been working on in the past couple of years. And this has really been an effort of many of the shell businesses like renewable energies, trading, together with the innovation departments and IT, working in external ecosystems with customers and clients to create new solutions. So for us, the learning is we never start a blockchain solution completely in isolation without partners and without customers on board, because it's really a journey we go on together. And throughout these years, we've also joined other ecosystems where we believed in the mission of what they're behind. And we also started to invest in different startups. So some of the examples, number one is the proof of origin of low carbon energy. I will go into the next slide just to give a pure example of what we meant for this, for the electricity sector. So I'll leave that one for now. The second project that we worked on is the digital passports for equipment. Here we did already live trials with our partners to trace equipment that is produced by manufacturers and to create a digital passport for that equipment and to trace that throughout the whole life cycle. So here we can capture really important data points like inspection results or emissions data, or showing that certain pieces of equipment come from certain batches or have been verified by third parties. And here it is proven to have enormous emissions or efficiency across the supply chain that really delivers to a lot of partners. We have also joined, for example, we're a founding member of the Energy Web Foundation. This is one of our key partners in anything related that we do to the energy transition. And the Energy Web Foundation is a non-profit foundation that has more than, I think, 130 members right now, and that has launched a couple of years ago a public blockchain or public permission blockchain that allows us to deploy decentralized applications that accelerate the energy transition. Shell Ventures, an arm of Shell, has also invested in LO3 Energy, and this is a startup that is focused in the US on creating microgrids and peer-to-peer energy trading, which is unlocking new energy propositions towards customers and creating energy communities. And projects have already been deployed and pilots across the world for this. Some of the other things we've been working on with our trading arm, who's led a lot of this, has been new ventures that use distributed ledger technology to change current processes. And this has been for trading one of the key ventures like Comgo and Vact, for example. And more recently, last year, we joined the Dutch Blockchain Coalition. And this is a consortium or a coalition in the Netherlands with both government as well as private companies who are really wanting to scale blockchain solutions in the Dutch ecosystem. And here we've joined the energy track to really look at the biofuels supply chain to make sure that we can create a fraud-proof, completely verifiable and blockchain-enabled supply chain. To finalize and give an example of some of the key points with relation to the example on low carbon energy and traceability. Here is one of the recent projects that we've just completed, and it's called Energy Trace. And Energy Trace really provides customers insights into true environmental performance. And we see that that is absolutely critical in the next steps to achieving decarbonization in the grid. The problem with today's world is that, or not a problem, it's amazing that a lot of large companies are really focused on their environmental impact and really pledging to be 100% renewable in future. But the problem under the current system is that companies look a lot at the total consumption on a monthly or even an annual basis. And buy equivalent green energy certificates to claim to be 100% renewable. And there's a problem with this approach because even if the totals match over the longer term time frame, it is not guaranteed that in the intermittent falls, actually there was enough green energy in the grid to be able to be claimed by these companies which they consumed. So for us, we believe it's important to provide these real-time insights to companies on a much more granular level, like a 30% interval, to make sure that companies see what type of renewable energy is being matched and procured, and that other certificates can be purchased on top of that. Now, what is the blockchain adding as a value in this? Well, number one, automation. We see that smart contract automation is playing a big role in this. We see that smart meter data enters the blockchain immediately and automates that data verifiability directly. Second of all is that we have an immutable ledger which really guarantees the origin of this data and creates granular certificates at the point of issuance, then transfers them and retires them. And this here, we utilize the Energy Web blockchain, which is a public blockchain, which I just mentioned that we launched. And here we utilized all the open source toolkits that the Energy Web has created as an open shared infrastructure to really allow companies like ourselves to build applications on top of this. And lastly, the last value add of blockchain here is that no certificate can be assigned to more than one customer. So there's no double counting by design, and there's no possibility of these to be claimed twice. So this is one of the concepts that we've recently completed, and we have done this for electricity and are looking to pilot this on other types of electricity sources like hydrogen, heat, or steam in future. So more to follow on the space. One of the last points I really want to make here is that for us, collaboration is key. You've probably seen that with a lot of the projects that I've been describing, or a lot of the initiatives that we're trying to move forward in the space. I truly believe that open source collaboration, that working on standards, that interfaces between different companies and open ecosystems are extremely and increasingly important. And to date, and too often in the energy sector, have we built systems all based on proprietary norms and data sharing that is absolutely rare in our sector. And I think it's an absolute opportunity and is a must that this energy sector starts to share more data, starts to collaborate more in open source ecosystems. And to me, that it's not just energy companies with each other, but it's also the connection with startups, with different companies around the world. And hence collaboration is key. So always feel free to reach out to us for any kind of collaboration, either through our Shell Ventures arm or through the blockchain perspective, because we believe that that's the way we get these maximum solutions to the market. So I want to round off with this for now. These are the main points that I wanted to raise. And there's a lot more blockchain projects that we have in our energy sector today, or at Shell, that we're focusing on. We publish a lot of documentation on this on the Shell website that you can find there on the top of the screen. And always feel free to just reach out to me on LinkedIn and any of the rest of the team that we have available. So yeah, thank you so much. And feel free to ask any questions at this point.
Thanks a lot, Sabine. So it was really enriching presentation, very broad and specific at the same time. And I'm sure that we all will love to rewatch it to observe the knowledge and the specific examples that you've shared. And so we have here some time for some Q&A, and so some questions already addressed to you. So I'll start with a question from the audience, from Thomas Wozniak. Thomas asks about layer 2 blockchain based on proof of stake instead of proof of work. What is your opinion of their role for the energy sector?
100%. Thanks for that question. It's a really good one. So as mentioned already, we are focused on a lot of public blockchain development. And I think that's potentially quite unique when you listen to a lot of other enterprises still working in the space focused on private blockchains. When you move to public blockchains, of course, there's a lot of question that comes around gas fees, about scalability, about transactions, speed that we have. And layer 2 solutions to me are absolutely critical in allowing us to scale scale to that. For us, we will not as Shell focus on blockchains or use blockchains for our operational systems that utilize a proof of work consensus mechanism, because it just doesn't, for us, make sense to use that whilst we are trying to accelerate the energy transition with this. Although, to be honest, public blockchains like Bitcoin, etc., I really still do understand that some of these proof of work consensus mechanisms really make still a lot of sense, although we need to find ways to decarbonize that and to bring that to net zero, and there's a lot of effort going on. But for us as Shell at the moment, we're focusing our development on deploying on Ethereum or Ethereum-like blockchains. The Energy Web Foundation is, for example, a different type of architected blockchain that does not use proof of work, but still a public permission blockchain. And here we are focused on deploying our applications because we still find that transaction speed that really delivers on the promise, and the scalability is still all in good shape for the type of solutions that we want to deploy. I think in future, my opinion is that layer 2 solutions are absolutely critical. And I think a lot of the effort at the moment in the energy or in the blockchain sector is focused on that scale 2 development and solutions in order to make public blockchains more accessible, more utilizable for any kind of company. So from my perspective, I am fully supportive of that. And we see a lot of value in those layer 2 solutions.
Okay, great. So another question from Aaron Winkler. Has Shell considered using or partnering with the Energy Web Chain?
Yeah, so I think that might have been an earlier question before I got to it, but just to emphasize again, right. It is one of our key partners. We are a founding member of the Energy Web Foundation. We are the Energy Web Chain has been launched a number of years ago. So yes, we do consider that as one of the chains to deploy on. And the Energy Trace example is one of the projects that is deployed on the Energy Web Chain.
Great. And Ed Bursier continues on the same topic, if the about combining Energy Web with the Parts Passport.
With the Parts Passport? I think that's relating to the digital passports for equipment use case. Yeah, so at the moment we are still in a pilot phase for that projects for the digital passports. So we have not yet deployed this to any public chain out there, but we are in plans to transition that, but more will follow on that in future.
Great. And so about collaboration, Christopher McGregor asks, what pains are you experiencing in this collaboration with blockchain providers, with several entities, and if you see the decentralized application being applied to incentivize knowledge sharing and collaboration to solve the complex issues that may arise.
I love the idea, to be honest. I'd love to hear more about it. I must say, to share some of the struggles also, or some of the challenges with this collaboration. Of course, trying to align a lot of different companies with a lot of different incentives and a lot of different objectives is challenging to organize. It's already sometimes difficult to organize one organization, and organizing multiple can be difficult. What I've learned, though, for any blockchain project to be successful is the idea to really align from day one on the mission and on the objective that is out there to achieve, and really define very clearly early on what the roles are of other participants within that ecosystem and what value each company can bring in, or what value each company can get. And I think if you don't have that established clearly up front, and you don't have that roadmap very clear, it can become more difficult over time to keep that momentum going, to deploy solutions, to get that uptake that you're looking for. Second, to me, is that it's not so much about the technology that I think the challenges are in this collaboration and cooperation, when you're focusing on actual deployments and production applications, because it's much more of a behavioral and business change that also comes about. And I think in a lot of sectors around the world in general, it doesn't matter if it's blockchain or not, just digital transformation I think the business change can sometimes be underestimated, and that's something I think that requires more attention to really bring about the kind of value that we at the start imagine these systems can bring.
Great. Also Juan de Toro asks if Energy Web blockchain is a side chain to Ethereum or just an EVM compatible chain?
Yeah, so Energy Web chain is indeed very much like Ethereum. It's not a side chain to Ethereum, but it's very similar to the way that the energy or the way that Ethereum is architected. So for us as Shell, that's always been also a very important key point at also choosing the Energy Web Foundation or being a founding member, because our real theory and our strategy in terms of architecture is everything Ethereum unless. So we really believe that most of the ecosystem is really built around the Ethereum ecosystem. It has the most open source developers. It has the most activity, the most people, companies drawn to that ecosystem based on all these open source principles. So for us, considering different types of chains out there, we always do look at the Ethereum ecosystem and how the architecture, protocol, or EVM setups are interlinked.
Okay, thank you. And so another question from Kelroy James. Carol asks if you believe that blockchain will enable more sustainability by creating peer-to-peer market, and if it will reduce costs and prices.
Oh, that's a lot of ones in one question, I think. Then we want it all from one solution. To tackle the peer-to-peer energy trading, I think this is a really interesting use case that I think was probably one of the first use cases in the energy sector that people started to talk about when blockchain came about. Because the whole concept under the idea of having solar panels on your roof and being able to trade that energy with your neighbor peer-to-peer without any intermediary in between, that is the ideal blockchain use case that we see. And for example, one of the partners that we've invested in is LO3 Energy, which is a company in the US, which looks at these microgrids and these micro establishments. I do also think that peer-to-peer energy trading, I think there's also a very consumer element to this. So how do we create, or would you imagine a person being active on trading its energy all the time? Or do you create more services around peer-to-peer energy trading and create more energy communities where there are services that do, let's say, algorithmic trading for you and allow for this optimization for an energy ecosystem? And to me, these are use cases that are still a bit newer, but to me, I find that more of a draw towards how blockchain can help provide that verifiability, how we can use AI for our insights and also algorithms in future to help with some of that automatic trading without actually requiring a person to do their own trades or to really think that they will really trade with their neighbors or their communities real time. So to me, that is one of the areas that I think is really interesting that we should be looking into a lot more. In order for reduction of cost and efficiency, that part of the question, I think, in general, when you're looking at a leapfrog of a certain way that we work in industries to utilize new technologies, we should always be focused on trying to do things in a more efficient way and trying to reduce the total operating costs of what we're trying to achieve. Because if that is not the case, then I think, why are we changing our ways of working and why are we adopting new systems? So I think those things always play at heart, but I think the triangulation of sustainability coming in with that and really trying to create a net zero emissions future and bringing companies and individuals to reduce their carbon emissions, I think all of that triangulation of data will need to be transparent and will need to be open for us to achieve those goals.
Great, thanks a lot. And so to finalize, we are 10 minutes behind schedule, but I cannot avoid asking two questions from my side. So the first one would be taken that Shell is namely investing in startups, blockchain startups. So do you have, and can you share like a kind of wish list profile of startups, like these startup that if you happen to meet would be a potential investment from Shell? So like if you could define a specific profile of a startup you'll be looking into.
Yeah, sure. And the simple answer is yes. We are always looking, we're strategic investors through the Shell Ventures arm that are looking to invest in new companies and technologies that we can help scale for the energy sector. So I would make it very simple. To me personally, I'm interested in anything to do with energy sector, sustainability, and blockchain. So if you meet those two criteria and you are working on the next future of the energy sector, we'll be interested to talk and to see how we can help you, what kind of collaboration opportunities are out there. I'm a little bit scared of the messages that we could be receiving, but on the other hand, I think it's amazing to see the hard work that is happening in this industry. And for us, it's about partnering and trying to see how we can collaborate, and we don't want to figure and try and build everything ourselves. So really that collaboration and partnership is key for us. So for us, I would say also look at the website of our Shell Ventures arm. They run a number of programs throughout the year in terms of even beyond blockchain. So that's just in general different means to participate in rounds and get their attention from this. But another way could be to get in contact with me, and then we send over some information. We can do a deep dive and we can get the right colleagues involved.
Awesome. So another great opportunity and a great challenge for the startups and entrepreneurs in the audience. And lastly, quite of a more personal question, but I'm curious to know how you get to be involved with blockchain back in the early days, and so for the sake of eventually inspiring new people to join this incredible paradigm.
Yeah, sure. How did I get involved in this technology? So for me, what has always been, I think, since the early days, also in my studies, been a really important intersection is the ability to bring about disruption through any digital technologies and working at the intersection of how that has an effect on the world and creates a positive change. And for me, those two very much come together in blockchain. So for me, it's been an easy one to pursue, since the disruptive effect that blockchain can bring, and also the sustainability angle and environmental angle that I find really important. How I got involved, I was actually just starting out working within the IT domain, and there was a small team in Shell that was just about forming, and I, by accident stumbled upon a webinar that was being launched, and basically after I heard that webinar talking about blockchain and energy, I said, that is the team I need to be working in, and that is the area I want to bring change. So for me, it's really been a process of, I think like a lot of people in the blockchain sector, self-educating yourself, immersing yourself in this whole rabbit hole of Web3, blockchain, and energy. And still today, every day you get surprised by the new things that are happening in this market and the developments ongoing. So to me, it's been a combination of factors of intrinsic interest, drive, and seeing these opportunities come by and not letting go of this blockchain world. So I'll be here for a bit longer in the energy space.
Awesome. So really, really great to hear about your great path until now, and also I'd like to even recommend anyone interested to get a bit more into blockchain to check the European Blockchain Convention, also the European Tech School. So these are two of our partners that definitely can bring great value in terms of knowledge. And so Sabine, it was a utmost pleasure to have you with us today. I hope that you can stick with us to
for sure
get to know some of our stuff.
I definitely want to hear. So thank you so much for the invitation, and I hope I've been able to answer some of the questions. And good luck for the rest of the day. Definitely.
Thanks a lot, Sabine. So now I'm asking for the startups. So the next two startups before a short break will be AgeVolt and BlockFrauds. So I'll ask AgeVolt and BlockFrauds to stick with the 10-minute presentation time and then 6 minutes that we'll have for Q&A. So everyone in the audience, you can, during the presentation from our startups, already address them questions in the Q&A section, please. And so, yeah, it's again my pleasure to ask Parag and Ondrej from AgeVolt. You may please present your slide deck.
Okay, I'll share my screen. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Joe, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfectly, Parag.
Okay, I'll make a start then. Hi everyone, I'm Parag Gogate. I'm the Chief Revenue and Operations Officer from AgeVolt, along with my colleague Ondrej Sarnecky, who's the Head of Digital Platform. And we are here to present our e-mobility loyalty management application as part of the BlockStart program. Our vision is around accelerating electric vehicle transition by making charging accessible and convenient and achieving optimal energy distribution. And we're doing this through a comprehensive electric vehicle charging ecosystem, which directly links to the UN SDG goals of climate action, from CO2 reduction to electrification, as well as the energy efficiency. Electrification is a main driver of decarbonized transport in Europe, and that is how it's going to play out in the next 10 to 15 years. But there are a couple of problems or a couple of challenges. One of them is around lack of charging infrastructure. If you look at some of the forecasted statistics, there will be approximately 130 million cars, electric cars on the road in Europe by 2035, from a current 3.3 million. From a charging point perspective, a further 65 million public and private charge points will be needed from a current 1.5 million across Europe. So you can see there's going to be a huge demand from now versus next 10, 15 years. Let's not also forget our drivers. 54% of the drivers worry about lack of charging infrastructure. They worry about range as well as cost of charging. But that's not the only challenge we have. And as Sabine very rightly mentioned, it's also about energy transition. So if you look at a typical electricity consumption, whether it's your house or whether it's a commercial building or office premises, there are typical morning and evening peaks due to electricity consumption. If you then add on electric vehicle charging, it further puts pressure on the grid, again, during the morning and the evening peaks. And it's forecasted that again, in the next 10 years, 11% extra energy will be needed. So about 200 trillion watt per hour. What does that mean? That means that the demand side coming from electric vehicle charging is going to imbalance the supply side on the grid. Our solution to this, these two problems is a comprehensive e-mobility ecosystem, combining smart electric chargers, energy management system, a digital platform which is based on blockchain, IoT, AI, and we'll be presenting to you the blockchain element today, and a mobile app. We are looking to reduce the total cost of ownership by 20% for both charger owners and the car drivers, creating a e-mobility marketplace to bring drivers and charger owners together. What we're looking at is a once-in-a-generational lifestyle change for drivers from driving the cars today to electric cars tomorrow. We're also looking at doing the demand balancing of the electricity, as I mentioned earlier on. But eventually, what we want this ecosystem to be an open collaboration for every charger, charger owner, and EV driver. Therefore, we are creating a new value in this through an ecosystem where the e-mobility transition started. It was basically from generation one, as we call it, purely based on assets and standalone chargers through fixed or linear pricing, moving to a generation two. So therefore, it's a platform managed pricing or roaming within Europe as well, for example. What we are looking to do is a generation three. So this is, as I mentioned, a multi-sided marketplace through dynamic energy management, peer-to-peer sharing, dynamic charging pricing, and also lifestyle products and services. Our focus today is the loyalty token that we will show you a demo, but we have further plans of using blockchain for payment tokens, energy token to do the grid balancing on the demand side, carbon token to track carbon reduction and offset activities, as well as energy supply sources, whether they are renewable and also investment in green technology projects, and crowdfunding. So a transition of such a massive scale requires funds, and we are hoping to open this platform for crowdfunding to invite participation from the ecosystem stakeholders. From a competition comparison perspective, our value is really around the platformization of the e-mobility ecosystem, typically the multi-sided marketplace, also bringing in features like energy management and tokenization. We are active in the Slovak and Czech Republic markets at the moment. Our customers ranging from automotive, retail, hospitality sectors to energy, real estate, and even government. We also have ongoing projects in some international markets, but from an end user perspective, we also target the fleet drivers and the EV drivers. Our business model is based on this digital platform, bringing in different stakeholders in the ecosystem together, forecasting revenues in the next 6 years of 30 million euros between the charge point, energy management system, as well as the marketplace activities. I will hand over to my colleague Ondrej at this point, and he can take you through the blockchain and the demo of the loyalty management application.
Thank you, Parag. Hello, everybody. So on the start, I would like to just remind why we are adopting blockchain technology. So as a first point, because of security and transparency, we are using the smart contracts and building a network using the Hyperledger base, which is based on Ethereum technology. And of course, because of sustainability and security, we are using the permissioned private blockchain. And a third point, because we are reducing transaction cost and transaction time in our e-mobility ecosystem. And as a last point, because of scalability of our platform and network effect. But let's talk directly about our pilot. So what are our results from pilot stage? Onboarding process took longer than expected because the first step and necessary requirement for successful implementation of the prototype was installation of actual EV chargers at adopters' facilities. After the installation and setup process, we've been ready to implement loyalty token solution for them. So we successfully tested 4 of 5 our use cases. One of the use cases will be implemented in March or April, when we will finish our mobile application for EV charging for EV drivers. But overall testing phase or pilot phase has been successful, but it requires some more time to validate business model and how our solution will long-term impact adopters' businesses. What is probably the most important for us, we received a lot of interest from our existing and new customers to implement the solution in their businesses as well. The examples I will show later. A few more words about adopters specifically. So Penzion Mora and Vila Severka are hotels with restaurants located in our beautiful Slovakia holiday resorts. So a really great use case for us. With exception of Spillenberg House, which is one of the oldest houses here in Slovakia, and it's being currently reconstructed to be used as a multifunctional building where you can find offices, restaurants, cafes, and so a really ideal customer for us to test our solution. But let's talk directly about features and use cases, and I would like to show it with a video. I will share my screen now, so I'll share a screen with the video. Okay, just confirm that you can see my screen. I'm sharing video, so now you can see how great actor I am. That's a joke. So me as a visitor, I'm checking out from the hotel, and as a loyalty point and a reward for my stay, hotel will grant me tokens named Mora as thanks for me that I spent some money in their facilities. So later, these tokens I will use in exchange for charging. So you can see now on the screen when I refresh my wallet, there are Penzion Mora tokens, 10 Mora tokens. So I'm ready to go to my car. I will plug in the cable and start charging with Mora tokens. As you can see, charging is automatically triggered and started. So now I can go back again to the restaurant and spend some time there. After the finishing of the charging, the rest of the tokens will stay in my wallet, and they are like motivation for me to come back again later and spend some more time in their hotel or restaurants. So serving the purpose of being the loyalty points that you can exchange for your EV charging, so for charging of your EV car. So you can see there's a rest of the tokens. As an example, I would like to quickly show you also a demo application. I need to move this. This is the demo application of our portal for loyalty token. It's really pilot stage, but after minting, actual minting of the tokens, when I mint some tokens, they are shown here in the EV driver account. As you can see, this is my account, my personal Euro account, some AgeVolt HQ, Pension Mora, and Spillenberg tokens. So a lot of testing. So I would like to move back in presentation. As I mentioned before, we get a lot of traction and a lot of interest from our existing customers. I'll show you an example here. So from existing customers and also from new customers. From existing customers, a good example is supermarket od našich, and actual Slovak Post. They are going to build their first EV car fleet of EV cars. And here is the list of hotels that we already approached, and they are interested in our solution. So in this moment, I would like to hand over back to my colleague Parag.
Thanks, Ondrej. So just to give you an idea of a product roadmap for the next 3 quarters, we'll be focusing on improving the UX and UI of the application you just now saw, as well as completing the testing of QR code that we were not able to do before the pilot ended. And furthermore, we'll be integrating our portal with SME adopters. So here they will be able to offer their products and services like hotel accommodation, spa offers on our platform for the EV drivers. Quarter 2 is focused on further marketing campaigns and functionality. We'll be looking at developing carbon token and also looking at data models for AI machine learning from a charging perspective. And we then have plans on developing crowdfunding functionality, which I mentioned earlier on, as well as the energy token. On a business side, Ondrej showed you a lot of interested customers. We'll be looking to launch pilot projects with all of them in Slovakia and Czech and further afield, depending on the interest, and also looking to validate business model. We have plans of opening up Hungary and Poland markets in quarter 2 and carbon token proof of concepts, and further plan open markets in UK and Germany, looking to do POC for crowdfunding as well. This is our team currently based in Slovakia, a team of 40 colleagues led by our founder, Jan Justiak, and our CEO. We have expertise in all areas like product management, marketing, sales, finance, and also an advisory board to help us progress this further. So what we are looking for are potential customers or partners who would like to work with us and try different proof of concepts for different tokens I mentioned, as well as test and validate different business models, especially in the wider Europe and Central Eastern European countries. We're also looking for investors. We secured a funding round last year, so we are looking for second round so we can scale our multi-sided marketplace across Europe and open new markets. Thank you for listening, and we'll look forward to your questions.
Thanks a lot, Parag and Ondrej. So your presentation extended a bit more than the 10 minutes, so we'll have to be telegraphic in the answers to some questions. So I'll start with a question regarding your future cooperation with SME adopters. If you can briefly summarize, how do you see this happening, your future plans?
Maybe I can answer this question. We have actually a lot of ideas, and a lot of ideas coming from actual SME adopters. One of the example is beside the balance of these tokens, I would like to show also their current marketing campaigns. So, for example, if some hotel there is implementing our loyalty token solution, wants to do some marketing campaign like, you will receive the bonus tokens this weekend when you visit us. They can publish it directly in our mobile application, web application, and most important, on our map, where we will show every connector that is nearby EV driver. So this is like the biggest example that we are going to develop in the upcoming months.
Okay, thank you, Ondrej. And so two very quick final questions on the differentiation factor of your e-mobility digital marketplace.
I will take that question. So we are really mobilizing the ecosystem, as I mentioned earlier. The transition is not possible at a large scale if you don't involve all the different stakeholders. And what we're doing is a marketplace which goes just beyond charging your car to really helping EV drivers transition to a different lifestyle. And we want to be open for other so-called competitors. So whether it's the other charger manufacturer or other digital platform providers, they all can connect, and together we mobilize the ecosystem. That's where we are going with this. And of course, blockchain helps us to create trust in our ecosystem.
Okay, and the final one, if you are planning to use blockchain in further products that you may have.
Yeah. Ondrej, do you want to?
Yeah, of course. So beside this loyalty token, I would like to develop or use blockchain technology for development of our other potential products and use cases. The most basic one is payment token. I would like to replace our current payments actually with payment like euro payments with token payments to reduce the transaction cost and time, because as Parag mentioned, it is multi-sided marketplace, and I like to also call it like Airbnb model, because on the other side of the charger is EV charger owner that is going to receive the actual payment from EV driver. So it will help us reduce the costs in our ecosystem, because those money he can withdraw to his account, or he can use it again in our ecosystem, like to buy another charger, to buy another services, or pay for subscription services for other products like loyalty token and etc. So there is a lot of not only motivation, but actual use cases and places where we are going to implement blockchain technology.
Okay, thanks a lot, Ondrej and Parag, for your great presentation. And so we will have to move on to the following one, BlockFrauds. So
thank you.
Thank you, Parag.
Thank you.
So welcome, Roanna. We are excited to hear about BlockFrauds. So the stage is yours, please.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm just sharing my screen, so let me know when you can see it. Can you see my screen yet, João?
It's starting, but it hasn't appeared yet.
Let me know when you get it.
Maybe if you can please retry. It seems
yeah, it seems to have frozen, doesn't it? Right, let's try it again. Can you see it now?
Yeah, perfectly now.
Yeah, wonderful. Then I'll begin. So hello, everybody. I'm Roanna, co-founder and CEO of Faro Software, and we're trading as BlockFrauds. Now, insurance fraud is a massive issue. It's over $40 billion a year in US property and casualty alone. And it doesn't just affect some faceless corporations. It means higher premiums that we customers have to bear. And we're actually the lucky ones as well, because those higher costs mean that billions of the most vulnerable people worldwide can't afford the protections they provide. Now, insurers are already spending over $3 billion a year on software to detect fraud, and it's growing rapidly, but there are still unmet needs. So why is it so hard? Well, there are lots of reasons. For a start, there are lots of different types of fraud. And these days, there's also the sheer range and scale of data it can be hidden in as well. Now, it would be so much easier if insurers could share information about frauds and fraudsters, but they're quite rightly subject to very tight regulation, such as GDPR here in Europe. And of course, they don't want to go sharing their customer information with their competitors. And then there's who they're up against, because the fraudsters are very tech savvy and very agile. They can move much quicker than insurers, and they know them inside out. So we're focusing on three fundamental aspects: better detection of fraud, compliant sharing of information, and advanced technology that evolves with those fraudsters. We apply a range of cutting-edge technologies, including AI and our own proprietary algorithms. So our advanced speech analytics can detect signs of fraud or known fraudsters, and our advanced image analytics can tell if an image or situation has been used elsewhere. And then this all leads to an initial claim credibility score, so the claims handler can prioritize their reviews. And best of all, the processing has anonymized the data, so now it can be shared seamlessly and compliantly. And I'm using a private permission blockchain for this sharing, because I want a single immutable source of truth of those digital DNAs, acting like a fraud bureau. And Sabine, here's why I want it to be a private one as well. I need to rely on those records in the fraud bureau, and I only want trusted participants to contribute the intelligence and to train the model, not sort of fraudsters or amateurs at all. So this wider intelligence set now that's on the blockchain, this can really help better detect potential or known fraudsters and double-dip claims, whether they're using speech or images. And there's also a network effect as well, because the central federated learning that's on the blockchain can learn faster and more broadly from that wider intelligence. And this really helps it keep pace with the fraudsters as they evolve. Now, this leads to an updated claim credibility score back to the claims handler, and all participants get an updated algorithm for a better initial flag. Now, our solution can benefit insurers worldwide and also insurtechs whose solutions involve processing images or speech. We can be accessed directly or as a plugin or on a platform such as Claim Technology. And actually, the BlockStart pilot has been done with Claim Technology. Now, they've got a gateway platform that links insurers to claims-related insurtechs. And we've also been working and partnering with NEMIS, and NEMIS have anonymization software. And this helps companies protect their personal data. And through that, obviously, they're compliance experts. So I'm afraid that when you use our app, you're mostly just sitting there looking at a computer. So I can't give you a little travel documentary like Ondrej. But what I will give you is a clickable demo of our solution. And I'll start off with the speech analytics. So it's set up to handle many languages. If you'd like to move. Yes, it's set up to handle many languages. Oh, no, I've gone past it. Let's try it again. Is it moving? It's never let me down yet. Oh, yeah. So here you can see the voice analysis, and it shows how you can speak in incredible detail. Well, it's moving very slowly, isn't it?
Yeah, the video seems to be frozen, but now it's starting.
We're going up. Here we go. So you can upload audio files. It's set up for many languages. This is automated in practice. And then the voice analysis shows how you speak in incredible detail. And this is where you can do the voice recognition, and you can spot any suspicious changes. And it's unstructured to structured data and anonymized, but with your match characteristics. And the amplitude here is just anonymized numbers again for compliant sharing. And the text mining looks at what they say and sentiment analysis using NLP tailored to fraud detection. And we generate a claim credibility score for this, looking for false positives. Now, obviously, with AI, you have to train the model. So we'll have set up the analytics centrally, so only the fraud experts actually have access. The speech tagging looks at parts of speech, such as use of superlatives, and there are also words of interest you can add, which are common tells in fraud, especially taken together. But every insurer will be able to train the model on their data set. So you analyze the text here, which is just like you saw initially, but this time the trainer can use their expertise to guide the results. So someone who spent decades handling claims and has a reputation for spotting fraudsters might say, no, I'm only going to give this 40%. And how confident am I in that? I'm 80% confident in that judgment. So here, I'll send that updated score to the central model. Cloud wisdom will prevail over time, inspired by AI. And then you can apply the model here, but I'm going to move on to the image analysis here. So in the image analytics, you can have it set to search either on the chain or off it or both. And you can set the level of confidence above which the system will flag matches to you. Here, we're uploading a car crash image. The AI translates it to a range of anonymized numbers, and it's this that's shared. So here already, you can see the AI has found the same image in their own records, but inverted. They're 100% confident of this. And then on the network, we found one, 98% sure it's the same crash. But for compliance reasons, you need to request access. So you can just click here to make that contact. So that's all on the private node. And here we've got the central model, and you'll be able to see the various participants interacting with it in practice. And behind the scenes, we've got model selection. We've got 2 deep learning AI, 2 shallow learning ML, which we can weight over time to counter biases and give the best results. And with the client weighting as well, you might have wondered if that's a risk that could skew the AI. And yes, so as well as restricting network access to just the trusted participants, we also weight the training contributions, depending how much effort, experience, and expertise each one puts into it. So there you have it, eventually the clickable demo. And now the trials were actually done by Claim Technology themselves, because we wanted an entirely independent verification that it works. So here's a GIF of BlockFrauds on their platform, and Michael and Oliver from the team. Thanks, guys. And NIMs were incredibly helpful. I'm talking through the GDPR compliance aspects in real practical detail. I'm checking to Spanish regulations, and we were able to share common challenges, like around pitfalls, market awareness and the like. And we were delighted to discuss their possible blockchain use cases too, one of which they're already taking forward. So thank you, Manuel and Oscar. Now, we've met our technical goals and we've achieved TRL 7. The image detection tests have exceeded expectations. Claim Technology's platform is now set up to handle voice data. Integration is proceeding as planned, and the speech solution is performing as expected off the platform. We've managed to progress the wider business cases. We've had some great feedback. And our data protection impact assessment, we've been deemed compliant by an independent UK lawyer, and that confirmed what Nimes had said earlier. Now, what have we learned during this short pilot phase? A lot, particularly the granularity of our discussions around how GDPR, blockchain and claims law interacts. And that's really helped give us some clarity over our future product development ideas. And it's been brilliant to see close up how the insurance sector, so much of it now is evolving fast, and the insurtechs are so willing to collaborate. And it's also been absolutely brilliant taking part in BlockStart. For a start, great mentoring. I'm going to shout out to João here, but also Mirko Kikovic of Infidia from BlockStart Cohort 1, who is a particular star. So thank you both. And BlockStart also helped us focus on SMEs earlier than we planned, but we are so glad that we did, because the value that's out there, the agility, the scope is absolutely brilliant. And you can see that reflected in this testimony from Claim Technology and from one of the other SME insurtechs we're talking to. We've got some great recognition. We've got 2 investors, Outlier and CV, and we were runners-up in R3's Quarter Insurtech Challenge 2020 on fraud detection. And that was sponsored by B3I, who are a major insurance industry blockchain consortium. We've signed an ongoing commercial relationship with Claim Technology, and we're in discussion with SME InsurTechs about collaboration and use case. Now, we're not aware of anyone else that's offering this seamless, compliant sharing of intelligence, let alone with the collaborative learning. I mean, there are others out there whose solutions do offer sharing, but it's often much more limited and often requires onerous follow-up to be useful. And there are very few companies offering advanced speech analytics or our kind of image analytics, let alone with the collaborative learning. So over the next 6 months, we're going to be completing the speech integration and testing, and then we'll be productionizing. And that includes the DLC management and lots of UI, UX enhancement. We're also going to be updating our business plan, which includes detailed financials. We're going to raise 18 months runway to support our launch and initial scale. We've got a classic B2B SaaS model, free to use initially as we see the data, cents per use as we get established, moving on to licenses and ultimately value sharing and other revenue models. And from the outset, we'll have related services revenues available, and we have extended functionality in our plans. So we really know what needs doing. So Soadad was formerly CTO and head of innovation at Hiscox, and I've got extensive complementary business experience. We've got a strong team and network for support, ready to scale with the plan. So if you're an insurer or an InsurTech who thinks that you'll benefit from our fraud bureau, or you think you can help it, then please do get in touch. Investors, you're welcome to register pre-interest for our summer raise. And if you'd like to join our team, as a colleague or as an advisor, or just generally help join our fight against fraud, then please do get in touch. And we look forward to your questions now as well. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Roanna, and appreciate your kind words and very happy for your great successes. So I'll move on to some 3 questions that we have. So the first one is regarding if your solution fits all kinds of insurers like life, health, property, and if that's the case, even with the trend of automated claims rather than traditional phone calls.
Absolutely. Well, you've just heard a lot from me, so maybe my co-founder Soadad would like to answer that one.
Sorry, Joe, I missed that. The line wasn't very good.
So the question is if your solution fits all kinds of insurers like life, health, property, and how do you comment the trend of automated claims rather than traditional phone calls?
Yeah, so I think in general, the insurance industry is moving towards automation. There's a lot of focus on improving the customer experience by offering speedy reply, as well as improving the expense ratio, the bottom line. So the automated solution does actually combine all of the benefits to insurance and customers. So there is a lot of desire and drive to move towards that digital transformation with automation from end to end.
Okay, and so regarding central federated learning, how can it help insurers keep up with fraudsters? And can you give an example?
Yeah, sure. So federated learning is a type of machine learning technique that trains an algorithm across multiple decentralized edge devices, holding their own local data samples without actually exchanging the data itself. Thus, you remain compliant and you share the intelligence. And because you are sharing intelligence from multiple sources and you are continually training the model will evolve with the fraudsters. If fraudsters change behavior or change approach, then you will actually have that being embedded and trained in the model, and the dynamics and the results of the model will change and evolve consequently. So that's the solution will not require ongoing changes for the insurance companies. It will actually change and evolve with time with the fraudsters. That's why we feel this actually has a lot of offering for the insurance companies as it improves all the time.
Okay, thanks. And so the last question on why do you need to use blockchain, and why couldn't you keep records in a typical shared ledger?
So I think the federated model itself lends itself into the decentralized model. So keeping that centrally in a database will not allow the model to distribute the intelligence in a balanced fashion, and will require a lot more admin. So the whole model can automate itself and can balance itself between the participants along the value chain without having to intervene or provide any maintenance to it. And that's why it's more suitable for DLT or blockchain.
Great, so thanks a lot, Soadad and Roanna. So now we are heading for a quick break just before coming back and having the last hour of our session. So I would please urge you to not leave the session. So we'll be back in just 5 minutes. So please take your time for a bio break, coffee, some stretching. Within 5 minutes at 5-6 sharp, we'll come back to the session to hear the last 4 startups from BlockStart. So see you in a while. So here we are back again. So sorry for this slight delay in the agenda. I promise you that it's definitely worth it to stick until the end. So we have 4 awesome startups with pretty diverse projects presenting: BlockTac, Comunitaria, Digital Village, HOPU. So definitely well worth it to stick for 1 more hour. And sorry for the anyone in, for instance, Eastern European time. The session will end a bit late, but I can promise you that you'll see it as time well spent. So I'd like to call from BlockTac Francisco. Francisco, if you can please share a screen, and you can take it away, please.
All set?
Yeah, it's perfect, full screen.
Well, thank you. Hello, friends. My name is Francisco Guillén, BlockTac CEO, a company that fights frauds in different industries. We do it through the use of blockchain technology and its capacity to become the ultimate proof of authenticity. And today, my goal is to show you an efficient way to protect the data of IoT platforms from cybercrime attacks. In this BlockStart program, we have focused our work on Industry 4.0 applications. Smart manufacturing is defined by the integration of communication technologies and like the Internet of Things or cloud computing with control and automation systems. While this integration provides new benefits and services, the ones that I list here, it has also facilitated the emergence of important cybercrime security, cybersecurity threats. So how serious are them? Well, global cybercrime costs are expected to grow by 15% per year over the next 5 years, reaching $10.5 trillion by 2025. And in the past 3 years, 246 ransomware attacks struck US organizations, affecting over 173 million people with an estimated cost of $52 billion. On average, it takes a company 187 days to discover the breach and up to 69 days to contain it. Damages go from destruction of data and fraud to disruption of normal course of business and reputational harm. And when these tampered data sets are used in artificial intelligence systems, the impacts scale exponentially. So in order to address this problem, we have produced a family of autonomous hardware devices that collect information directly from IoT sensors and machines, encrypt the data, and store it in a public blockchain. Now the information is marked and it may be verified. It's impossible to change and truly linked to its source. We name this edge computer blockchain of thin devices, and this approach makes it impossible for third parties to amend or impersonate the real producer of the data. The BlockStart program gave us the opportunity to prove our solution with 3 different companies. AgeVolt from Serbia provides hardware devices and data management services for vineyards. Applied Research Solution is a Romanian startup that develops data science solutions for smart industries and energy. And Advanced Microturbines from Italy is an energy harvesting system that generates electrical power by exploding pressure jumps in gas and water networks. They all share the same need to provide their clients with authentic and verifiable data that will ensure safe decision-making. So basically, solving this problem forces us to work on 3 levels. At the level of devices, we must be able to function autonomously with a high computer power to receive any amount of data, encrypt and process it. In communications, data should be transferred lightly and securely from any type of sensor or machine to our devices and then sent to the cloud. And at the software level, authentication results must be available and verifiable by the clients to be safely processed by decision-making systems. Let me show you the result. Our device firmware was optimized to achieve a faster real-time capability of processing, slicing out unnecessary functions. They are able now to execute our specific scripts and are capable of accepting future services as machine learning algorithms, for instance. The sensors, machines, and microcontrollers can send data to our devices using different protocols and systems, and they write the data to blockchain. This can be done simultaneously from as many as 100 different sources to one device on a continuous or periodic data streaming. Timing can be set at will and without the need of intermediate servers, which add data protection. And at the software development, well, this includes a decentralized private key management system to increase the security of the device, and the dashboard, a tool to see the unique identifier that correlates with every single data or data set, and to access the corresponding blockchain information. And data can be verified and downloaded as shown in this video. But in practice, this process is solved automatically through our APIs that connect with the client systems. In summary, the intended milestones have been reached. The devices work with simple sensor or complex devices or pieces of equipment in any setting, either isolated in the field or in a large industrial complex, battery powered or plugged with different communication protocols and network, MQTT, HTTP, Wi-Fi, LoRa, 3G to 5G, and on low and high latency scenarios for data transmission. And all data are being secured, marked, and its authenticity verified automatically before entering any decision-making process. So in practice, in all three scenarios, a data certification layer, the one in red in this diagram, has been created between the physical equipment and the critical data analysis by high-level algorithms. So, but in the meantime, we have been working with another company, Quanteo from Latin America, but therefore not eligible for this program, and in two additional industries. In the smart city, we are in the final step to open pilot projects in 4 cities and 3 countries to secure monthly data for 2 million people and 10 million vehicles. And in healthcare, just a week after launching our biometric MAC solution, we have over 30 hospitals from 5 countries that have expressed interest in its implementation. As mentioned before, our solution creates an entirely new market by solving unmet needs that in smart manufacturing and smart cities industries represent a service accessible market just for cybersecurity and in Europe of 33 billion euros, with our share of the market in 5 years attempts to 150 million euros. This table highlights the most significant players with solutions that try to cope with some of the issues that our technology fully solves. Our devices stand out for being the ones performing those tasks validated in the pilot projects with high computer power, low size, low cost, and full compatibility and functionalities. We have a B2B business model. Here you have the value chains for both industries, and our solution provides value securing the information at the bottom layer, at the technical infrastructure, connectivity, and data analysis. Then we will find our partners and clients that will be grouped in these 3 families, top 4, system integrators, network providers, product vendors, and service providers. For each one of them, we have defined 3 categories of clients, and we'll charge a license fee plus a recurrent fee based on the number of devices and the volume of data secure. Although we are at the early stage of market access, we are advancing rapidly hand in hand with partners in Europe for our Industry 4.0 and in Latin America in the healthcare and smart cities industries with the figures that I mentioned before. Our go-to-market strategy consists at the very same moment the implementation of those projects with our partners in Europe and South America and studying present opportunities in California. Therefore, we are entering all those markets earlier than expected. Here you have the rest of the BlockTac team, which is well-balanced and experienced with 8 engineers, 2 PhDs, 2 MBAs, and 2 Master of Science in Engineering, plus 2 technical and investor advisors. And our confidence is grounded on the knowledge and experience achieved in the authentication of consumer goods, people IDs, artworks, and online voting systems. This has granted us quite a few international awards and recognition and endorsement from our clients in different industries. Our goal is to raise 3 million euros to complete investment in R&D to improve efficiency and include machine learning algorithms, and to finance operation and sales activities globally in order to reach in 5 years a leading position in 8 industries, 8 countries, and 300 clients. And that's all. I thank you all for your time, and I'm open to your questions.
Thanks a lot, Francisco. So we have some questions for BlockTac as well. So most of your pilots were in smart manufacturing. How difficult would it be to extend to other industries?
Well, our experience is a manufacturing, but an industrial setting, very different, each one of them. We've been able to answer this question. We can do it quite easily. Our solution, I mean, either we work with our devices or third-party devices, we can include our programs over there, but right from the source, no matter the industry, that the thing that we are doing with biometric max in healthcare, we talk to other systems, grab the information right from the source, preventing any cybercrime attacks at that level, and then secure the data set from the origin. And then we add the functionality of those secure data set can be verified and authenticated immediately and automatically.
Okay, thanks. And which are the most suitable blockchain platforms to implement your solution?
Well, that's a very exciting topic, and it's part of our for us, a competitive advantage. So I wouldn't give many details, but I would say definitely, in order to become the ultimate proof of authenticity, you should use a private blockchain. This is something that is well accepted, it's generally accepted today, and this is what we do. All the things are being done on Ethereum. Absolutely. No question.
At least one more. What other functionalities would you think of adding to the devices?
Well, the most interesting one, the one that we are already starting our development, has to do with decentralized machine learning capabilities. Our devices could perform AI function, and this is something that will help the overloaded work of centralized AI systems, and prevent also that the data being received by the AI system that might eventually be tampered with. So the critical thing is you secure the data at the source, and then process it in an early level. I mean, that's not completely done probably the work, but some algorithms can be deployed on those devices near the source of the data.
Great. So thanks a lot, Francisco. So
my pleasure.
Quite diverse applications for sure for BlockStart, and looking forward for all your successes in the coming months. And so now it's also my pleasure to call another Spanish startup, a project full of purpose and impact related projects. So Miguel, please delight us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, João. You've been a great mentor. So I'm gonna share my screen for you to see it. So can you see my screen? Hello, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so this is Comunitaria. My name is Miguel Prados. I'm the CEO of this company and lead of this project, which is Rooftop That Fits, which I'm going to present now. So the problem is that the cycle of poverty perpetuates itself. So you know, in the private neighborhoods, the capital inflow is less than the capital outflow. So that is like a permanent situation. So we have to find ways to constrain the outflow of capital. So one of the ways we found to do this is to use the solar energy from the rooftop. We are able to provide fresh food at a local shop. This is a project that's been awarded by UNICEF, and I'm going to explain you how it works. So the solar energy produced by neighbors is sold to local shops in a microgrid self-community consumption. But local shops, local shops pay for this electricity with their community currencies. That's the novelty. It's an ERS-20 sidechain token that the people there name EIAS. So they pay, the local shops pay their electricity back to the neighbors in EIAS, a community currency. So after that, of course, neighbors use that community currency to buy back at the local shops that are buying their electricity. So it's like perfect circular economy, and the capital inflow remains giving wealth to the neighborhood. So it should be as simple as installing solar panels and then receive a community currency, as it is. And then with that community currency that you have on your left, the EIA, you are able to buy in local shops in a really easy mobile phone application. So you just select your store and click on pay, put the amount, and that's all. So that's the goal we wish to achieve with BlockStart. And it was the, we want to be able to invoice the commerce in euros for the electricity they consume, and then they should be able to pay back in EIAS. So that was the challenge. So first of all, why the local commerce trust us? It's because we channel donations using the EIA. So what ONGs and ourselves have been doing, big ONGs like Caritas, we've been doing pre-purchase of fresh product in local shops. So that pre-purchase is in fiat money, but then that fiat money that is deposited as pre-purchase in local shops are transformed into a kind of stable coin, which is our community currency, the EIA, and then share among those people in need in the neighborhood. They receive the EIAs in a mobile app that is really, really easy to use. So the problem that we are tackling with this is that, as you know, food banks only deal with non-perishable food, so it's canned food. It's not very healthy. And prepaid debit cards, that was the solution that was before we installed the EIA in the neighborhood. The money used to go to big supermarket chains, which in fact damage the local commerce. So a prepaid debit card goes to, I don't know, like Carrefour type of big supermarket chain. So obviously they damage the local commerce. And they were also using food paper vouchers that has a really costly handling and management. So with Comunitaria, the people receiving the donation were able to obtain fresh food from a local stock. It has a local benefit. It's really easy to handle, has a really low cost, and is traceable and secure thanks to blockchain. So we measure and track the impact. We currently helping 100 families, and that number is increasing. So we provide more than 1.5 tons of fresh food. We provide stable jobs. We rehabilitate energy viable homes, and we multiply the local consumption. And obviously we reduce the CO2 tons produced. So these are the goals we tackle within UNICEF's goals, and we are able to track and measure those. So our technology behind is a multi-platform mobile application for iOS and Android. And it's an open source blockchain compatible with Ethereum virtual machine. So it's a side chain basically. So all current DeFi and DApp development is compatible. Swap, yield, lending, insurance, DAO. And Comunitaria is also a node of this Fuse network blockchain. So we get part of the transactions. And we also provide technology for the solar production metering. And we did that with using IOTA blockchain streams. So our proposal is we form energy communities, comunidades energéticas, or microgrid communities. The solar cells are both, and then all the impacts are measured. So cultural integration is really important. So for those people not having a mobile phone, we are producing printed bills or notes that also has their blockchain part, because for instance, one of those bills is designated by an NFT artist, quite famous one. So it's going to be auctions as well as a fraction NFT, and the benefit are going to go to the community. So I wanted to go into a video so I can show you precisely where are we working. So this is Sevilla, and within Sevilla, you have here on your left the Sevilla Stadium. So this is a rich area, but really next and close to this rich area is the poorest neighborhood in the whole Spain, which is this.
Miguel, we are seeing the Illa note.
Are you not seeing the video?
No, no.
Why is that? If I'm sharing my entire screen, you're not seeing the video. Why is that? We did an entire session for this.
Maybe if you, yeah, we are seeing your slides. So if you can, like,
if I share my entire screen, will you be able to see that?
Right now we are seeing the cultural integration.
Yeah,
slide.
but if I swap to the video, you're not able to see the video.
Please, maybe we could try it.
Can you see? Can you see my screen?
We are seeing still the slides. Another slide.
Do you only see the slides?
Yeah.
So you're not able to see the video. Okay.
So if you can, like, stop sharing the screen and trying again, maybe other.
I think it's the type of sharing the screen. I'm okay. That's
you can.
Okay. Now we're here.
Okay. Now, yeah. Now.
Okay. Yeah. That's so you now can see the video.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So, yeah. So this is, sorry for that. This is Sevilla, and this is the poorest neighborhood in Spain, which is the Los Pajaritos, and here's where we are currently working. So you see that's the Church of La Candelaria, and this is where we install the solar panel, and this is the local school. They are designing the coin, and this is the local market. And this is the actually the local market where we have the buyers of the electricity. Here is one of the buyers of this solar production. As you can see, that market is presently empty, so stores are closing. And this is the fisherman that is using the illes, and he's going to buy the electricity. So he's already using the illes to provide fresh food to people in the neighborhood. So instead of paying with cash, this woman just she uses the app for the first time, and as you can see, you just type the amount, click on send, that's it, and in 4 seconds is the transaction time it takes to be confirmed. Oh yeah, see, he's happy, he's getting the money. So so our plans are just to increase the numbers of shops open there in the neighborhood. This is the church where we install the solar panels, and we have one installation now made, and we have a second one, and this installation have been provided thanks to donations from private companies that instead of donate fresh food, they are donating a machine to provide fresh food for 25 years. So solar cells provide that for 25 years. So this is how the invoicing works. So I just produce an invoice that should be in euros, and I choose to pay in crypto. So I choose to pay in illes, which is the local community currency. This is it. Okay. And I just enter the description, which will be, I mean, this example will be the energy consumption of February 2020. So put the unit price, the quantity is 900 kilowatts per hour per month. The unit price, the taxes is 10% now, there is a discount. So that's the amount. And as I said, that is an amount in euros. So I click on create and send. We did that using the collaboration and request network. So we integrate EIA into the request network. We found them for the collaboration. So the commerce receive a request for payment, and it's awaiting payment. And the request for payment is in euros, but he actually can pay. Is requested to be paid in EIAs, so he connect their MetaMask to the Fuse network, which is a really fast side chain with low fees, which is one that we works with. Just click on pay, sign the transaction, and we can check the Fuse Explorer to see that the transaction went well. That's it, and the payment is done. So we have received some awards so far. We collaborated during this pilot with many companies like Cuerva for innovation. It's an energy company. Thunder Hunter is an energy provider. Here's the fisherman. He will be buying the electricity. Tu Comunidad Ahorra is a homeownership association management company, local, that provides us with some pilot project in new buildings. The local association, Asociación Tres Barrios, and the local bar that actually has a 1,000 euros bill each month, and he will pay, instead of EIA, he will pay in euros, so that will help to amortize the new infrastructures. And Cactus, who made the installation, and we get a new one from them, and of course the help of the BlockTac project. We won the UNICEF award for Disruptive Social Impact Project, the Blockchain for Humanity, a couple of H2020 grants, and we are now collaborating with the local housing agency, with the Agency for Energy of Andalusia, with this project of clean air and its social impact in Europe, and many more coming. So that's the team. Two professors from the university. There are actually more women than men, which is good. And our CTO and myself. That's all. Thank you very much. And sorry for the video thing.
No, we worked around it. Great. So thanks a lot, Miguel. So some questions for you as well. So could you define the mobile app user profile?
I mean, the people using it in the neighborhood is really low IT literacy related people. So it has to be that easy to use. So, and they give us like 4.75 over 5 in satisfaction on the use of the application. So it's really easy to use. You don't notice that you're using a blockchain at all. You just click on select the e-commerce, click on pay, and that's all that you have to do. So yeah, the profile is people with really low IT literacy. Yeah, and it works.
Great. That's the point, being as intuitive as possible and seamless. And who are the owners of the photovoltaic plant?
I mean, the owner of the photovoltaic plant, we want them to be the neighbors themselves. So the producers are the owners. There are another business model which is like more easy to produce, which is you rent the solar roof, and then renting out the solar roof, you get some payment of that. But we insist in the neighbors being the owner of the assets. So in this case, it's the church, the owner of the solar panels, and is the homeownership association, the owners of the solar panels. So the neighbors are the ones receiving the EIS and using those EIS to buy in the local shops. There's a question here. I don't understand how the coincide distribute to people who decide which people get. So if there's money coming from donation, it's Caritas or the local association that makes the KYC and just tell us who will receive the EIS. So yes.
Yeah. About the future, how do you plan to scale the project?
Well, we are so far in Los Pajaritos, which is the poorest neighborhood in Spain, and then there are 7 neighborhoods that are really deprived here in Sevilla out of the first 15. So we will go from one neighborhood to another. We are already in 2 neighborhoods. We are expanding to a new one thanks to the energy agency of the regional authority of Andalusia. So we plan to be able to be at least in 5. So it's like kind of a Lego. If it works in 5 neighborhoods, then we can export that system to other neighborhoods around Spain, and then go into Europe. Our aim is to be able to prove that it works locally, and which works now, and then expand to Europe. Yeah.
Great, rooting for you. So congrats for your ingenious application of blockchain for good, and an application that actually resonates with the peer-to-peer approach that Sabine has shared with us. So thanks a lot, Miguel.
Thank you.
So now I'd like to call Evelyn Mora from Digital Village. So one of the 30 most influential persons in the metaverse. So pretty excited to hear about Digital Village. So welcome, Evelyn.
Thank you, João. Thank you for having us. I'm going to just go ahead and share my screen. All right. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Evelyn Mora. I'm the CEO and founder of Digital Village. So we describe Digital Village as a sustainability-focused MMO metaverse. It's built on Unreal Engine, and it's powered with our own blockchain interface called Village Protocol. We have 2 products. We have the marketplace where our users can, or villagers as we call them, they can mint NFTs, they can crowdfund projects, they can exchange assets, and they can export the assets to utilize in the metaverse side. And we have our metaverse essentially built on Unreal Engine, consisting of several different zones and with different climates and environments. And I'm about to show you a video about Digital Village in a moment. In the metaverse of Digital Village, essentially users can buy land, they can rent land, and they can essentially build their own lands, and they can create events and participate in events. It's a real-time environment where users communicate via audio chat. When you enter the Digital Village, which we're essentially launching super soon, it's a soft launch, so we're not announcing the date yet, but you will be able to create assets or start auctions and mint NFTs using your preferred blockchain, uploading your assets, and you can see them on your profile, as you can see on the right side. Ultimately, we started focusing on 3 main problems. So social media, addictive, uninteractive platforms, that the user actually is just an observer, and sustainability aspect. We believe that tech can actually, Web3 has the possibility to tackle climate change, not only from climate perspective, but also in a larger sense of sustainability from social standpoint, from economical standpoint, from cultural standpoint, and so on. And of course, blockchain. In 2020, I noticed that blockchain, which is older technology that I am as a person, is actually really difficult to scale. That is because of, someone mentioned before, I think it was Miguel, the lack of technical literacy of the mass market. So how we solve this is essentially we optimize these environments, the spatial social media for our villagers. They have agency to modify these places and essentially have, they own their data and they are actually the stakeholders here to build the environment and the experiences that they wish to go through. And then, of course, from sustainability perspective, our platform is highly curated. We believe that selection of different technologies actually, result in different outcomes. So it's super important to curate the tech tools that you use and really have the human-centric approach in the design process. For blockchain literacy problem and mass adoption, we have invented the Village Protocol. Essentially, it's an interactive real-time social platform for anyone who's actually not familiar with blockchain technology to understand it, utilize it actively. We have not launched yet, or we haven't started our PR and communication or marketing, and still our platform is growing in 900% rate every month since December. Our main target audience is obviously crypto natives, millennials, take the biggest cake, and then we have Gen Zers. We are about to release the DV coin. It's a phygital component to Digital Village. It's interactive. We are enabling essentially individuals to participate in climate change mitigation, really emphasize the community effort of Digital Village. And we are experimenting with economy and trying to find the right way of essentially contributing from that perspective in Digital Village. So here is some feedbacks that we have received from our SME partners during the BlockStart journey, which has been incredible. We've received really good mentoring sessions. We've met a lot of different SMEs that are super exciting. We are working with Hard Disk Museum, Binary, Deviser, and Bertliner. And in fact, BlockStart, just as a fact that we participated, we've got a lot of different opportunities with BlockRocket and a lot of different things. So you can definitely, as a startup, feel the size of the network of just to be selected here. I mean, it was a long journey, but it's been fantastic. So some of the lessons learned: the unlikeliest matches can lead to the strongest results and broadened visions. I love that one. That's what Web3 is all about, essentially. Diving deeper into other industries, challenges enables companies to find solutions outside of their box. So we have definitely pushed these SME adopters to find new service models, find new product development approaches, and essentially utilize the Digital Village services. So going deeper to the Digital Village's BlockStart journey, our first collaborator was Hard Disk Museum. Essentially, Hard Disk Museum is a unique art repository that answers the questions arising from the new temporal codes of humanity, artistic production, and cultural heritage. We've designed a virtual museum in Digital Village for Hard Disk Museum, where they will be able to showcase their artists' work. They will be also utilizing our marketplace. I will be showing that in a video in a moment. Then we collaborated with Binary. It's an automating IoT firmware, cybersecurity. So essentially focusing on NFTs and the security of NFTs, the supply chains around NFTs, and really just because something is on blockchain is not automatically, secure. So there is a lot more in blockchain technology, NFTs, that needs to be reaching a certain level of security in order to be enabled mass adoption of, particularly from traditional business side point of view. We collaborated with Deviser. It's a smart security platform for public, digital, physical, and social spaces. So essentially, we are working on moving Deviser services towards more digital hybrid events, connecting the physical events and with digital virtual worlds. We are looking in long-term community activation processes, and this doesn't mean addictive algorithms, but really inspiring, essentially using positive, inspiring methods to engage the community. and then of course collaborate around data collection and use cases. So Vertleaner, last but not least, is a field robotics company developing autonomous robotic systems for the precise indoor assessment of building assets. Something that you might be surprised to know, I mean, we're very often associated with fashion, but we look into overall sustainability, and that's what Digital Village is all about. Construction industry is actually 2 or 3 times more, produces more waste than the fashion and textile industry. So I think many countries, 90% of their waste is actually coming from construction. So actually utilizing a company like metaverses with companies like Vertleaner can be not only very innovative from service product offering perspective, but also from a sustainability point of view. So this is our roadmap. As you can see, we have, I mean, this is actually already outdated. We have already reached a lot of these aspects that we have marked here. But we are happy to say that we are moving forward really quickly, and we are looking forward to also September this year announcing our annual sustainability impact and economic report release. We created essentially the first digital sustainability report where we measured via our financial data sustainability impact of physical and digital events. So I'm very excited to release this more in-depth report in September. This is my prestigious team. We have Sean, our head of product, Agatha, our COO, a lot of tech knowledge here, Astrid, our business dev, and myself. I founded Digital Village in April 2021, and since then we have received an Epic Games Unreal Engine Mega Grant. We got 2 different VeChain Foundation grants. Obviously, we got into BlockStart and got backed by them, and financially and from mentorship perspective. We became the startup of the month of BlockRocket. We were selected as top 11 companies to the finals of Climate Launchpad. And I was included in the top 30 voices influencing the metaverse. And we were incorporated in USA. We raised over 2 million and got grants around $150,000. And we've been getting a lot of media visibility through earned media, of course. And we will be featured in an international documentary soon. So look out for that. And we are already working with other metaverses around interoperability. And in fact, we have something super big and exciting coming up around interoperability early next week. So yeah, I guess that's it for me. I think if I have a second, I'd like to share a video.
Yeah, please.
Okay. All right. Can you see it? A black screen?
Yeah, black screen ready.
All right. So you enter the Digital Village metaverse from the marketplace. Here you can see all your assets. So my closet, I challenge anyone who has who tells that they have a better closet than I do in the metaverse, because you don't. So here we go to the zone 1. Obviously, we can't show our client works. We will be showing some of the buildings. We're in zone 2 now, going into our area designed by Carol Chivre with our creative direction. And essentially, Digital Village has 10 different zones, and all these zones are consisting of different types of actors from fashion and art field. And this is the Hard Disk Museum. So essentially what you can do is you can go to their exhibitions, you can buy the art in the marketplace, you can talk with the artists. And yeah, essentially it's all about details for us like the little dust under the foot or footprints. Actually, when you immerse with these environments, it becomes really important aspects and details. And I hope that next year, João, you will have your event in our neon room.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, thank you everyone for your attention.
Thanks a lot, Evelyn. Quite impressive to say the least. So the first question from Ward is if there is some kind of waiting list for the sustainability report, or
no, we're launching it publicly, openly, like we did the first one on our website. So what you should do is, obviously we will inform all our community when it's out. So if you want, you can register to become a villager, and you'll be informed for land sales and NFT drops and sustainability reports and all. Yeah, definitely. So go to Digital Village website and make sure to stay tuned, not only for the sustainability report, but register and keep up with them, definitely. So another question about the not so near future, but in terms of vision, I'm curious about hearing about how do you see Digital Village evolve over the next, let's say, 5-10 years? Right. So I believe that metaverse, spaces in online in general, they will be immersing into our physical lives. We are always thinking about immersing ourselves into internet, but actually internet will be melting into our physical lives. I think that metaverse is sort of like a first social step into IoT, like all-consuming, covering IoT. Essentially, I envision Digital Village becoming the social network in interplanetary way. Like, I genuinely believe that we will be living in Mars one day. And I think that the social platforms that are in place right now, as beneficial as they can be, like they can influence the new generation positive ways, such as, promoting secondhand clothing in India that is culturally thought as something, unacceptable due to having someone else's, energy or stuff on you. That has changed the secondhand market in India. So there is definitely good things about social media, but there is also huge bad things around it. So I do want to sort of optimize with my team the online spaces that we spend time on, and I think that is what the vision is, like how we can be social, utilize technology, but for our collective benefit, not for our enslavement, which we are right now. I'm sorry, but that is the case. I'm spending 9 hours a day. That's my screen time. And I realized that that's almost like being in a dungeon for 9 hours a day if you don't have any agency over how these platforms, can be redesigned to your liking. So, yeah. Great, striking vision indeed. So, in general terms, how do you see companies benefiting from implementing blockchain? I think that, there is a lot of bottlenecks in blockchain. There is a lot of blockchain companies out there. So I think that if you want to make your supply chain more efficient, more sustainable, you can definitely use blockchain as a tool. But if you want to communicate your end results transparently to the end consumer, which is one of the main sort of motivations for companies to adapt blockchain technology, you need something like Village Protocol. Because printing the blockchain data in 2D tags and adding them into your stores will not create any trust, even if the data is all on blockchain. But blockchain is not a perfect technology. And something that I've noticed is that blockchain is often advertised as something invisible that you don't have to see. It's like back of your TV, you don't care about it. But that is not the case. People want to know, the new generation, they want to know and they want to understand, and they want the blockchain to prove that what you are saying is in fact the fact. So so currently blockchain isn't, the best use case for increasing end consumer trust, but it can be. So we are experimenting with Village Protocol with that.
Great. So thanks a lot, Evelyn. Quite inspiring presentation and awesome project indeed. So now it's time to call the last project, last but not the least, Antonio from HOPU. Please, the stage is yours.
Hello, everybody. Hello, João. Hello. So let me share my screen. Let me go ahead. So first, I'm very happy of being part of this big party of BlockStart. That is really, really great. I'm seeing of these magnificent projects. And this is a big challenge for me to be the last one. So this is really a challenge. So let's do it at the best way as possible. So first, this is HOPU. HOPU is a specialized company in air quality monitoring. And we, in the case of BlockStart, we have focused on gas emission monitoring for two reasons. One, in order to understand that companies were under regulation, supporting all the regulation technology, but second, also in order to guarantee that in case of some emissions are not being carried out, then we can also issue some CO2 tokens. As you know, now it's a new economy regarding CO2 token and regarding a new token economy, and this is very, very important. So the problem being solved is, as I mentioned, effective monitoring, regulatory monitoring to guarantee that all the blockchain is able to demonstrate that we are doing all the right process in terms of certification, emission, real-time monitoring. And finally, was an opportunity that we didn't have at the beginning, but now is thanks to the voluntary offset, CO2 offset market is a new opportunity of the monetization of carbon emission. The technology is amazing. We have the magic formula of integrating IoT, where HOPU is a big expert, creating certified gas monitors. We are manufacturers. We're manufacturing in Spain air quality sensors, certified with all the laboratories, calibration, and certification required to make these official measurements, plus artificial intelligence to enhance all this data quality, all the extraction of knowledge, insights, for example, identifying where is the origin of pollution, identifying any potential forecasting of problem, etc. And of course, all this multiplied by blockchain technology as a trustable medium give us all the regulation technology capacity. Blockchain for us is a key enabler because it means a proof of availability of all certificates, all events, all records. It's also a proof of transparency for the ecosystem. We are working now a lot of industry that wants to demonstrate as part of the corporate social responsibility that they are satisfying all regulation and even improving year on year over this regulation. And finally, also to guarantee to the workers that everything is in proper direction. The functionalities of the solution is, as I mentioned, the compensation of emission, the emission control, and also this potential tokenization in order to demonstrate the monetization. One of the technological challenges that we have built has been this technology access control. And one of the values that we are bringing here is the opportunity to work among different users. So the scenario is that we are monitoring all the emission. We are offering access to even some corporate social responsibility authorities. And also we are offering, at the end of the day, these smart contracts in order to write down some policies in order to issue the credits. This is the technological much more say part, that is that blockchain per definition is not a multi-user access system, but was not by definition multi-user, let's say, control system. And here we managed to create an identity management where we could have different users working together in order to monitor and to enable these capabilities and enable this smart contract. The front end and the way this works is this scenario where we have all this data visualization with all the certification, all the events. And indeed, thanks to the adopters, we have this capacity to create these two scenarios. One is the IoT air quality in order to validate and to certify, but also the smart contracts to generate this monetization and also all these success cases, etc. This is exactly the use case we have created with Horizon and Versity Consulting, where we have been able to provide different recommendation. Also, we have been able to obtain average consumption. In the case, by the way, Horizon is a company who is making solar panels for autonomous vehicle, for buses, and for other different mobility solutions. So one of the main business model for them were to monitor and to understand what is the value of this new way to power vehicles as a CO2 tokens generator, thanks to the voluntary market. At the same time that they can understand what is the real value of the solution. At the same time, with Verse Consulting, we have been working together, and they are now partnered, and we are joining these efforts for offering the solution for this CO2 marketplace, for this CO2 emission, in order to guarantee that we can enable this tokenization for some industrial suppliers that are cooperating with us in order, for example, to optimize all what is called zero products, zero in terms of products that have compensate all their emission in the solution. So the service that we have built together have these two levels of service. One is the classical service that was enabled by HOPU, that is measurement of pollution and certification, and new opportunities are coming thanks to Verse, because we are now able to also identify all the different emissions, also identify if there's any voluntary CO2 credits that can be sell and resell, and also enable the right exchange in the what is the CO2 marketplace. The team is that we are right now 35 people and growing. We have been engaged in this project key people like Germán Molina, who was one of the main contributors in Hyperledge Fabric, also my team in business development, also people in user experience like Eva, innovation people like Iris, and finally my CTO, David, that have been working together in order to enable this opportunity of creating a product that could address climate change mitigation, sustainable economical development, and all together. And now let me play the video in order to make sure that you can understand much better what is going on and what we are offering.
Antonio, can you please comment on top of the video, because the sound is not working, but you can feel free to comment in the meantime. You are muted, Antonio.
Oh, sorry. So yeah, so here is the video where we are presenting the emission trade system for the voluntary market, where we are working really with the authorities to make these CO2 tokens. This is important to remark that we have managed to create this evolution of selling the CO2 token with some public authorities. The first public authority has been the European Union, which is helping us to create this public hybrid company, and second, other partners, as I mentioned, like Verse Consulting, who is supporting us to enable for the industry. Here is the example of the visualization for the Horizon use case, where we can see all the evolution of the power consumption generated by the autonomous vehicle and the vehicle car. And here is Yasmina, who was one of our adopters, explaining how this was valuable for them, because as I mentioned, Horizon is creating this solar mobility solution for clean, free, and global energy. And at the end of the day, they need to create two values. One value is the energy per se, but the other is how to validate and take benefit of this new way to generate energy to get also an extra revenue source that were the CO2 tokens. So the creating this transparent portal for energy producing setting and performance answer gives this extra value for a business that at the beginning could be only limited to energy generation, but as I mentioned, now it's also generating this CO2 compensation part. The most important part, João, and for everybody, is that now we have created together, thanks to BlockStart, the initiative CO2 marketplace.com, where Verse Consulting that we didn't know before is now one of the founder partners. Horizon is one of our early adopters and customers. We are also generating and getting these partnerships with different authorities, here in Europe. The European Union is helping us creating this hybrid company with a public-private company, because it's the unique way to generate these official tokens. And we have different cities in Spain that are already signing this CO2 token emission, like for example, the city of Cartagena in Spain, which is already creating the first directive in order to issue via technologies that has been created in BlockStart and co-created as part of this different initiative, are offering this official approach. And this, I think, is really disruptive, because, and this is also one of the values of BlockStart becoming a European driven project, a European Union funded solution. That is that the other alternatives beyond Europe are not official tokens, are just voluntary markets that are generating, and the officiality and value of this token inside European regulation rules are not valid and are not really satisfying the current regulation. However, thanks to going through all this process, using European service blockchain infrastructure, following all these rules, initiative, pilot, etc., we managed, and we are yet in a long path in front of us, but we managed to make as official as possible, reaching, as I mentioned, as an outcome. On the one hand, having big companies that are suppliers of big automotive industry using these tokens as part of the compensation, having new startup like Horizon also generating this token, and in the background having European Union, Verse Consulting, HOPU, and the most important public authorities like city halls signing and supplying and providing all the guarantees for that. Okay, so thank you, João and all the team, and I'm extremely happy to solve any question and comment. I'm looking forward for next step and cooperation in the real market.
Okay. Great, thanks, Antonio, and happy to have facilitated this connection with these two SME adopters. I have some questions on the potential issue of your sales cycle being very long and complex. Is this so? And if it's a reality, how do you tackle that potential challenge? You are muted, Antonio.
Sorry, João. So yeah, so this is an extremely good question. I think that this is part of our classical way to sell this has been for public government and public institution. So this has made our focus as HOPU Smart Cities working too much in this B2G. But something we learned a lot in BlockStart and is helping us is becoming much more B2B friendly. And this B2B approach is exactly what is solving all these aspects. So regarding the B2G, the solution is simple, is that we are using some financial service to delay our payment and to get as soon as possible our incomes. So this is a balance between different policies and different financial instruments that we manage to solve. But regarding the real solution for B2E is not to delay payment and to advance incomes. The real solution for B2G is B2B, because then suddenly you are out of the government life cycle, and then you start working for companies that are much more agile, much more direct. And that is in fact what we enable that we didn't have before in HOPU, that is to start working for companies. As you can see, our two adopters were not cities, were in fact were this kind of companies, consultancy, but also behind there is some key manufacturers and suppliers that are the real companies that will enable our scale up without having all this problem of scalability, access to the market, and of course cash flow. That is a killer.
Great. It indeed sounds promising, this new stream. So a question from James Gonzalez. Are you considering taking this perspective to apply in the aviation industry B2B?
Yeah, indeed, that is, James, thank you so much. At the end of the day, for me, the real opportunity is that we have really tokens that are legally binding and are able for companies to claim that their products are zero emission products, and that also taxes related aspect, they can claim this green approach. So that is the reason that for us, at the end of the day, any sector could be compensation of travel, compensation of emission by aviation sector, compensation of production plants, like when you buy a car, it's really a car that is zero emission manufactured because all the supply chain. So at the end of the day, for me, the big challenge has not been really which specific sector focus, was to enable the legal framework that really enable us to demonstrate first that CO2 compensation is useful. That is the most valid point, but that is the reason we are monitoring with sensors that there is an evolution of quality of life and it's an evolution of the reduction of pollution. And second, to enable that the compensation made by companies like Horizon or any other voluntary market are really transformable in something that public authorities, the legal framework recognize as valid. It's not like a token that I have created in a very cool blockchain project, but at the end of the day, when I go to a public tender or I go to my taxes declaration, they are not really accepted because they are not legally binding. And this is for me the aspect. Of course, beyond this, then is what is happening now. New partners, new colleagues like per se, and much more people like Chia, other people who are coming, who are helping us to use baseline technologies in order to promote in different sectors. So at the end of the day, even we don't want to be the unique one. We want to establish our help some industries, help some connection, and beyond, even to make this interoperability with other companies like climate trade, carbon, climate token, and other people. Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot, Antonio. So plenty of very interesting implementation and growth pathways. Thanks for your presentation.
My pleasure.
So now, quickly in 3 minutes, just wrapping up our event. Thanks a lot for everyone that stuck until the end, so over 3 hours. All presentations, the video recording will be shared in coming days, don't worry. So just a quick wrap up. Firstly, emphasize the 6 great projects, great startups that we had here today. Quite fortunate to be working with all of you in the past 6-7 months. So next week, as I've said, we'll send you a follow-up newsletter with the video of the event, a blog post with the main takeaways. Feel free to share these resources with anyone that you would feel interested in this event. Also, all presentations, the startups profiles, and most importantly, the call for meetings with the startups. So please, if you like to reach out to these startups to get to know them, to have an exploratory call with them, to bring some potential partnering or business opportunities for these startups, please reply to this newsletter. We'll be very happy to connect you with all of them. Thanks a lot to Erik Hengmith, to you, to the European Commission, to be so supportive to us along the past 3 years. We've been fortunate to be managing this project. It's been an absolute pleasure to work with you. Also, of course, to Sabine, Brink from Shell. It was a great presentation, very enlightening. So I think we all learned and daydreamed with her presentation. To all BLT developers from this last acceleration program. So not only the 6 startups that presented here today, the finalists, but also the 23 DLT developers that have been engaged with us since July last year. For sure, to the 21 SME adopters that made possible the pilot implementations of the past 2-3 months. You've been great with very different profiles, showing in concrete terms that blockchain is a very versatile and future-proof technology. And lastly, to the BlockStart consortium, so the teams that are behind this project. I'm here today representing them, a more public face, but for sure, everyone behind this initiative, Laura, Vitautas, Jovita, Inês, Antonio, Frederico, so all of you, and also the previous people that worked in the project and that are not anymore in the team, Nadine, Ziggy Mantas, Gertruda, Jurga, so everyone, definitely it has been a pleasure to work with you, and we are fortunate to be meeting awesome ecosystem players, awesome startups, SMEs, so it has been a wonderful pleasure to be trying to give our slight contribution to the blockchain community. So that's all from our side. So I hope you enjoyed the event. I hope that you keep evangelizing people about BlockStart. Of course, it has some challenges that will be tackled by startups as the ones that we met today in the coming years. But for sure, this is a revolution that is unstoppable. This is not a far-fetched future, it's the present. And so thank you all for your participation and see you around.